that's the wrong button. Okay, here we are. That's the right button.
Oh! I set up the reactive Fugies not knowing if we'd need those or not.
No, we don't need Fugies. We've
here.
got the VNet collab tool. It lets us do crazy things like be together on stream at once. But hello everybody. Welcome back to another 10 Talks, this time with my guest, Geop.
Hello, I'm a rock. How you doing?
It's a rock. Yeah, don't throw a brick at him, Faraxis. That's not polite.
I'll try not to spill my drink. Don't worry about it.
I trust you. I feel like you're rock steady.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the way 10 Talks works is that I have a set of questions, but my guests are also free to ask any questions they have, so long as they're within the TOS. But for a warm-up question, Geop, if you eat breakfast, what is your favorite kind of cereal?
I could angle for a silly answer, but I'm kind of thinking what would be a silly answer in this sort of a context. I think like the plain Jane boring answer would probably just be Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I'm trying to think of a goofus answer. Oh God. Have you ever... I know there's some cereals that kind of like eviscerate the inside of the mouth. Not that I have a
like
mouth,
Captain
but I feel
Crunch?
like that was the one I've heard a lot about. Yeah, never quite trusted the Captain, you know?
Never.
I don't know if... Actually, I don't know if his medals line up. I've heard that it's actually not quite what a captain wears in those terms. I don't know.
I think he's supposed to be a
I read an
Navy
article
captain.
once a few years ago. It's probably accurate. What was I talking about?
Oh, the cereal.
Right, cinnamon toast crunch. Yes.
It's a good pick. I like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. What kind of rock are you?
A rock elemental. I just like to leave it nondescript. Don't worry about it. I haven't been cracked open yet. It might happen someday, but I try not to think about that. You know, we don't think about how we shuffle off the mortal coil and things like that.
Some rocks just have more rock inside of them.
Actually, mine's pretty finite, pretty small. Right in front of you is about all you see. There's no mysterious black holes with extra rock inside there. I'm sorry.
Aw.
Can't upsell people on that, I'm afraid.
At least you're honest about it. You're not like, oh, I might be full of diamonds.
I know there's some... I feel like there was this whole thing... Have you ever seen Futurama?
Yeah.
You know how, like, I think there was this thing where Bender constantly talks about what he's made out of, and it's constantly a dancing variety of different metals that's never consistent.
Yeah.
I'd rather just not say anything and just kind of leave it up to people to decide.
You could always change the answer every time, too. You could be like, oh, I'm a lava rock. Next stream, I'm actually a geode.
Oh, that was a typo. I'm sorry, I'm a different rock now, you know?
How do you eat your bagel? Oh, this question comes up every stream.
I eat a bagel. We don't really do bagels around here. Are you from like a bagel-forward culture of sorts?
No.
No? What brought about the question of bagels? Did chat pressure you into that? They tend to do that on some channels.
No, it's because they found out how I eat a bagel. So I used to go to sleepaway camp, and in sleepaway camp they gave you 1 hour to eat your breakfast, and like every Friday they would give us bagels, and I had to figure out what was the longest way I could take to eat a bagel. So I scoop out the inside of the bagel, like the bagel meat, and then I eat that with cream cheese, and then I fill the bagel boat with cream cheese. And then I eat that.
I've got to say, I'm not a cream cheese fan. I feel like that's already kind of made me a few enemies, you know? I know there's people who do bagels, they say, oh yes, cream cheese and lox and things like that. And
I hate lox. Understandable.
I mean, the most boring answer I can think of is somebody who can... Do you do baking, Tim?
Yes, I do a lot of baking.
Do you? Fantastic. Have you ever made a bagel from scratch?
Yes, all the time.
Oh, hell yes, hell yes. So, that's the only way I can really get a decent bagel down here, and as silly as it sounds, the only thing that's adventurous I've done with a bagel is just make it into, like a turkey sandwich? I know this sounds weird, please understand.
No, I don't think it's weird.
I am from a far-off land known as the Gulf Coast, you know? Please understand.
They do bagels different.
I know there's more cultured tastes on bagels, but I don't have one of them.
That's okay. The question just comes up every 10 Talks. They want to know if people eat bagels as weirdly as I do.
Oh, actually, I have a follow-up question since you were a baker. I
Hmm.
feel like this is kind of a silly thing. You know the myth about making a pinkies up proper bagel? How they say always it's like, oh, it's something in the New York water that
Yes,
makes it
it's
different.
the
Do you
Hudson River
believe
water.
that?
No, I'm
I
not gonna
really,
drink the
yeah.
Hudson River.
There's a little bit of there's like some taint in the water that somehow makes puts
There's,
it over the edge. I'm like,
there's a few bodies
no.
in there.
I've always thought that was the weirdest thing because whenever I've been in a few chats and stuff where people sometimes talk about just baking as like a random subject, and
Mm.
I'll just kind of perk up my ears to being like, oh, hold on, let's see what they're talking about, and then somebody will say, well, you need the proper water, and I'm just kind of like stopping myself from just ranting, just sort of like, no, you dumbass, it's still water.
It's,
It's kind of like,
it's just
go
water.
ahead.
You could use
Yeah,
any
it's
water.
it's kind of like splitting hairs between typical rock salt and like Himalayan rock salt.
Yeah.
It's like it's still salt.
It's
What's the problem?
no, literally, it's. I don't even think they realize it's really not the water. It's the fermentation. The fermentation is what changes the overall depth of the flavor.
Oh yeah, I know there's also I've never tried it, but I do know that if you don't boil it to gelatinize the outside, you make something that is a slightly different. I think it's like kind of like a bakery, some sort of something. It's like specific to Cyprus, I think. There's something like where they would take a bagel recipe, they would not boil it, and they'd coat it in like sesame seeds. I can't
Oh,
recall what the heck it is.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Bagela.
Is that what it's called?
I think it's
on a
either a
second.
bagela. I don't think it's a bayali. I think a bayali is the one covered in onion.
Onion. That's a new one to me. Just covered in like caramelized onion, or
Yeah, basically you caramelize the onion and then it goes on top and you bake that all together and it makes it like really, really crispy. That's
Oh,
another,
I've
it's like a
never heard of
Middle
that
Eastern
before.
bagel, the bayali.
Have you made one before, or just kind of aware of its existence in the
I've
world?
made them before. My specialty is
Ooh.
bread. I make sourdough. So I do a lot with bread.
Actually, my sourdough, regrettably, my companion of many years.
No.
He used to have a name. I don't try to think about it too much. I think it was I jokingly called him Chester. He actually died. We lost power around where I live because of storm issues, and I was like, oh. That sucker's been around for a long time. He ain't gonna survive a dead fridge for that long.
Oh
so
no, and you weren't feeding him?
no, I had to leave town. It was like literally insufferably bad. And I was like, oh Chester, I left a man behind.
No.
I haven't replaced him yet though, so I don't know.
If you ever need, I have a lot of dehydrated starter.
I actually grew that originally from. You could go online. You can get like the dehydrated starter
Yeah.
from like some. I think it was like a bagel place specifically where I got that from, and I just kind of kept it around forever and ever and ever. But man, Chester made some really damn good bagels. I'm sorry. Can I cuss a little on here? I won't
You're
go
allowed to
overboard.
curse. I always say I don't curse, but you are free to.
Fantastic. The shackles are off. Brace yourselves. Anyway.
Someone wants to know, what do you like to bake?
What do I like to bake? Oh, well, I haven't. Well, there are a few things actually. I mean, the bagel stuff I haven't done in forever. Since Chester is gone, rest in peace.
Rip.
There is. I do a lot of lifting and stuff, so a lot of my a lot of stuff I make tends to be very protein forward. So something I make regularly is like a kind of a pizza dough that uses it uses a fair amount of vital wheat gluten. It makes it behave slightly different, but also it compensates by having less calories, or at least less carbs, than flour, but it
That's
has a lot
interesting.
more protein.
It's interesting because vital wheat gluten is literally flour.
It's a very interesting thing because it makes a pretty passable pizza crust, I feel. For this is another thing where I feel like people who have very nuanced takes on bagels will also, some of them may have very nuanced takes on proper pizza. you know?
They're from the same region, so it makes sense.
How how particular are you on pizza dough doneness, Tenny?
I prefer mine a little bit past golden, like a little bit crispier than average.
So the thing with the recipe I have that I use so much with vital wheat gluten is like browning. It doesn't. Well, it kind of, but it also doesn't happen. It's kind of an interesting texture, you know? It's like the bottom is never... You ever see those YouTube videos where they obsess over pizza doughs and they're like, oh, look at the leoparding on here.
Yeah.
The dough
The
I have
honeycomb
doesn't
structure on the
Not
inside.
At all. It doesn't leopard at all.
Is it very dense and chewy?
It actually is, but that's kind of because I spread it out super flat. If I kept it smaller, then I could probably get something a little chewier. But it's kind of it would offend people with specific pizza standards. I'll leave it at that.
That's funny.
I have no pizza standards. That's me.
As long as it tastes good, that's the important thing.
Fair enough. Yeah, can't argue with the results.
When you got started on Zillow reviews, and what got you started on Zillow reviews, and what was the weirdest thing you saw in a house?
Oh God. I could answer the first one. The second one's like asking me to choose my favorite ugly child. Oh God, I can't choose my favorite ugly child? There's so many memories. Well, I remember why I grabbed it was kind of okay, so I started streaming back, regular streaming. I kind of did intermittent things over the years, don't worry about it. So I started streaming like, I want to say March 2022 is about when it was. And I was just a voice in the void and was kind of like on the down low working with somebody we were trying to figure out what to do with a model, so to speak. And I was like, well, whenever we decide something, we'll roll it out. So even before the VTuber thing in the summer, I was kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna putter around in streams. I didn't really have I didn't want to be a Valorant streamer. Or actually, was Valorant out then? I don't know. Are you a variety streamer, 10? Or I'm sorry, I know you're doing like Monster Hunter and things like that, but
yeah,
like,
I play a lot of games,
what's
but
your flavor?
I don't play FPS. My
gotcha.
flavor is yapping. Really, every game is just an excuse for me to get to yap at my chat.
I can respect that. I have issues with whenever I'm playing a game. Are you able to talk well while you're playing a game? I feel that's a limiter for me, honestly. Like, I don't shut up, but it's kind of like my mind is kind of focused on the game. So I can't talk about this weird story I had at the grocery store while I am playing a strategy game. I kind of have to be... I feel like this is kind of like a patting your head, rubbing your stomach thing, you know?
Yeah.
Except it's more of in a speech sense. Are you good at that? If my question made sense, I kind of...
No, your question made complete sense, and my chat's already answering for me.
Oh, are they?
I can talk while I game. Some people come in here and they're actually like, how does she talk so fast and still do whatever she's doing? Because when I get excited, I talk really quickly.
I've had some streams where I have trouble firing on those neurons, and I've found that oddly enough I know there's the notion of like I promise I'm working toward an answer. Trust me on this. There's a weird map in my brain. I'm trotting along. Okay, so you know I don't know if this is slanderous to say. You know the whole notion of a React Andy, so to speak. So I found I'm not very good at that the vast majority of the time because I may not have much to add. I know some folks have notions of pretty much ignoring the video. Some people will pause every 5 seconds to talk about something. I don't really do either of those, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know if it's entertaining to watch. And that was usually what folks use for yap and rambling and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, okay, this was, I want to say, a couple months into the streaming, so probably about May. See, I'm working toward it, I told you. So we're inside May right now, lo and behold, the year of our Lord 2022, and I'm just like, okay, I'm playing, I think I was like playing Breath of the Wild, I think? something like that. It was like modded Breath of the Wild. And I had a stream on a Sunday afternoon, and I was just like about to play the game, and I was like, man, I know I have a schedule. I don't want to play a game. I really don't want to play Zelda today. And I don't know why. I somehow went down the road of looking at a weird house listing, and I grabbed a couple of them, and I was like, okay, maybe if I just do this for 30 minutes before stream, wake up the neurons. Maybe, as I call them, the gamer chakras will come into alignment, and I will be like, hey, we can go off, we can play Breath of the Wild now. I got this out of my system.
Yeah.
So we just start looking at like I think we had like 5 or 6 that I picked out, and these were shorter streams, so it was like not the 4 hours, it was like, I think about 2.5 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
But we had so many derails and stuff that by the time we got through all of the 6 or so houses, it'd been 3.5 hours, and I was like, oh, okay, well, no Zelda today, sorry. And folks seemed to like it, and the next week I was like, well, I found a few more houses, and things just kind of kept on adding on from there, and we're up to 130 streams as of yesterday. So that's also not. I cheated on the number a few times, so it's probably like 135, but I don't know who's counting. Technically I am, but the numbers are fake. Okay, I think I answered part of that. So my favorite ugly child. I actually, gosh, there's so many facets, so many details, so many quirks. It's like, let me think. Can I reflect this to make a question to you about this while my brain putters around?
Yeah.
Have you ever delved much into weird house listings? I know it's kind of something that comes up on occasion. Actually, can I compress this down to a better question?
Yeah.
Slightly roadblocked. If I had to pick one, I feel like okay, I don't know why I was dragging my feet. I actually do have a favorite. The prodigal son of shitty houses, pardon my language, would be the Grover house. I can't believe I didn't think of mentioning the Grover house. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. If you know, you know. If you don't, the high and low of it is some fella on some forums was trying to make an extension onto his house. He had the notion of doing every single step of the process, and professionals were checking in on his workflow and how he was doing things as he brought in info and pictures. They were like, hey, what you're doing is dumb as hell. You should stop. And he just kept making it worse and worse and worse. Like, one of the big jokes was like a piece of drywall, which is I can't really reach and knock on my drywall over here, but if you've got sheetrock or a drywall, viewer at home, turn and take a look at that. That's not very stable material. Well, there was an entire wall inside of his kitchen where, because of how he cut across joists, like rafters running through the roof structure, that there was a lot of pressure resting entirely on some drywall. So the big joke was the load-bearing drywall. But there's so many other little things that he was doing horrifically, like he was cutting corners on electrical work. Like, he was like, oh, I can do the electrical from top to bottom. What's the harm? And he's like, this is actually a lot of work. I'm just going to cut some corners. And then he would go off and he tried to get an inspector to okay his home. And he had multiple inspectors come out and they're like, you shouldn't be living in here. This is dangerous. So he went off and got certified and certified his own home. So, Anyway, that's the short answer. That is technically the finest ugly child. If I had to choose past that, it gets complicated again. It's a long story. Anyway, I'm done rambling about that. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Someone wants to know what's the best kind of pizza.
Best kind? I'm basic. I like pepperoni. What about you, Tim?
I like cheese, honestly. I just like plain cheese pizza.
I feel like we've had 2 pizza. Actually, no, it wasn't a pizza question. I had a pizza derail earlier. Disregard. I was about to say, why do we have 2 pizza questions?
They're curious about their pizza curious.
I see. Did I make any enemies with my dough feelings?
I don't think so. They do want to know what your Garfield mug says, though.
Oh, the Garf? Let me embiggen. When I die, I may not go to heaven. I don't know if they let cowboys in. Anyway.
Incredible.
Let me scrungle back down. Truly, truly masterful writing. I'm pretty sure that was like a punchline in a hint in a Jim Davis comic at some point. Maybe, don't quote me on that.
Have you seen anything?
As for why I have it out, it's kind of like a running gag. I don't think about it too much. I couldn't find a transparency of like one of those leaded glass Garfield mugs. So I just use this as a stand-in. You ever tried one of those leaded glass mugs? Actually, you don't have to answer that.
I don't.
We can just leave that as a little bit of a secret.
I don't think I know what those are.
Oh, you don't know?
No.
Hang on a second. Hang on. I'm pulling something up. It was like these glass mugs that McDonald's sold in the late 70s, and it had like an incredibly high amount of cadmium inside of it, which is carcinogenic.
Ooh,
so it was kind of like this big thing where people found out about it online. They're suddenly like, we had cancer mugs. People were just now finding out decades later, and they're like, where are they? I need them.
Not the cancer mug.
Oh boy. Exactly. Everything a growing kid needs. About 6,000 parts per million cadmium, apparently. Thank you, Google.
But it makes sense. I've never eaten at McDonald's or Burger King or like 99.9% of fast food places.
I haven't in a long time. I don't think we're missing out. It wasn't good back then. I don't think it's good nowadays, frankly.
Yeah, that's what most people say. The only thing people say I'm missing out on is like Taco Bell.
I keep hearing people talk about how expensive fast food is these days, and they'll talk about going out and getting something. They'll list the price. I'll be like, woo, I'm not missing out, huh?
Yeah, someone told me the other day that a meal at McDonald's is now like $19, which is crazy because you could probably go to a pretty good restaurant and get, a good hamburger for that.
Yeah, it's funny to look at like, you could look at really old ads from like the 90s or something. You could Google search and see those prices and be like, whoa, boy, can't get that anymore.
Have you ever seen anything in a Zillow review that you would put in your house?
That I would put in my house? Let me think. Something that I'd put in my house. There's so many weird little things. There was one thing, it's kind of a gag on the channel, that it looked like a toddler did a drawing of what almost looks like Master Chief, but they just had the name Themes written under it, and that became a meme on the channel, just like a drawing of something, like a dude, maybe a creature, and just themes. And I was like, it seems weird, but there's little pieces of art like that I would like in my house because it was so iconic, But something genuinely aside from some little meme art, oh man, so many strange little things. There was this house we saw that we actually revisited yesterday, and it has like this really strange structure that they kept in the edge of the den. Ten, have you ever seen Total Recall?
I don't.
With Schwarzenegger?
I can't remember.
So for the folks who may or may not know, I can also grab a picture of this to show you as a visual aid. So for the folks in chat who may have seen Total Recall, as I am stalling to get this picture here, y'all remember the part where Arnold Schwarzenegger, spoilers for Total Recall, giving folks time to react. Okay. So the spoilers here. There's this scene where Arnold Schwarzenegger lands on Mars. Don't worry about the context. He's basically going through the equivalent of TSA. Technically, not TSA, but whatever. And he's actually dressed up in this, I want to say like middle-aged lady Like they got an actress who's like this, you know, maybe a 50s or so lady with permed red hair, and you see her get stopped. And this is like a far future thing. So it's not Arnold Schwarzenegger in like makeup and stuff like that. It is actually this lady, and she's getting in, you know, questioned by them. And there's like some technology he was using to speak using her voice, and it bugs out. And she's just saying 2 weeks is when they were asking her about how long she was going to be there, and just gets stuck with her saying 2 weeks, 2 weeks. And he bails on the disguise. And when he does that, there's like this effect where he takes off the mask and it does this weird futuristic separation. Hang on. 2 weeks, lady. Total Recall. Once again, there is a road I am laying out here. I promise.
I can see it in my head.
Let me see. So if I let me slap this into the Discord here. This is the disguise that he's trying to sneak through. You know?
Oh, that's terrible.
And there is, I don't know if I can find a picture of it, when he actually takes off the mask. It does some weird separation. Anyway, I can't find a picture of that, but I can find a picture of, hang on. I can't find a picture of the thing that stuck out to me that I'd love to have inside of my house, just because it's so strange. Hang on. I'm actually pulling up like an archiving tool because Zillow robbed me of this. Oh, actually, what was that address? Wait, I have a better idea. Hang on. Doing it live. Hang on.
We're figuring it out.
I'm sorry?
No, I was just saying, we're figuring it out.
Since I looked at this on a stream the other day, rather than trying to find where the heck I hid it in my little backup tool, I can just scrub through and take a picture of it from the video.
It's true.
And show you it. Oh god, there's actually several. Ooh, I forgot. I constantly remember these weird little things. Hang on, did I zoom in on? Yes. Okay, this is actually unrelated, but it is a structure that I did see on the edge. Hang on. Actually, I'm just gonna slap a bunch of these in here. That is like all we get of like one little weird thing. That is not what I was talking about.
It's actually with a hat.
It is like some sort of porcelain statue. That's not what I was thinking of, but while I was looking for it, I got distracted. There's also, hang on. There's also a really weird chair. I'm giving multiple answers while I'm hunting for this.
What's the least correct way you've heard someone pronounce Geop over the years?
Jeff.
Really?
Yep, I've gotten multiple Jeffs. I've gotten a Geop. It's kind of like at this point when people try to figure out how to pronounce it, I never correct them, and I just wait and see how long it takes them to catch on if there's somebody I have contact with, you know? Hang on. Oh, I actually went past the picture. Okay. This house had so many weird, dumb things inside of it. Now, what's the best? Yeah, that'll work. Okay, the statue. The Total Recall lady statue. I can't find a picture of it when he's taking off the mask, but it does some weird separation
That is
effect.
a weird chair.
That's the weird statue I was thinking of. It doesn't quite separate like that. It like, when he takes off the old lady disguise, it like splits down the center, I believe, and also it lifts off in these weird little layers like this. But I know I'm not crazy because when I bring up Total Recall on the stream when I'm looking at this, there are multiple people in that chat and say, yes, I know what you're talking about, Geop. So clearly nobody would lie to me on the internet, right?
No, yeah, obviously no one would
Of course.
lie on the internet.
Well, there was my very brief answer. There you go. What was the question again? I forgot.
I don't remember. Is there any rock lore those of us not familiar with should know about?
Rock lore? You mean like in the geologic sense?
I think they mean your lore.
Me lore?
Not like the beginning of time.
I've had weird, malleable backstory things that I've just kind of buried because it's not important. So, not to be boring, but not really. Not really. I know, I know some VTubers and stuff like that, like doing like a very elaborate backstory and stuff. And I've mulled around things in my head, and eventually I'm just like, I'm not gonna worry about it. What about you? Do you have like an elaborate backstory or anything like that, or?
I do, but it's
Hit me.
so I have to give like context for the backstory. So it's a little bit intense. So just like, I guess, trigger warning. My fiance took her life a few years ago, and I noticed there was like an uptick in depression and people feeling sad. So I wanted to create a place where people could come and feel happy and healed. So my lore basically ties into that, where I am an angel created by humanity in order to restore the hope in people and fix their hearts.
Wow, it makes me kind of feel silly for having like a goofus idea I was trying to think of. It's actually very, very inspiring, very nice.
No, it's okay to have silly lore. Silly lore is fun.
But yeah, nothing really on my side. I think it's just kind of like the bit I went with is like, I was thinking of some people being like, oh, I am like, what's like an astronaut weird thing? I am like the Grim Reaper, and I am here to play, I don't know, Words with Friends poorly or something like that. I don't know. And I'm just like, no, just like a rock elemental, very unassuming. People say, why can you move around puppets and things like that on stream? I'm just like, oh, I'm just doing it with telekinesis. Don't think about it too much.
Yeah,
Other than that, very, very defenseless.
I mean, you could always be like that slime from Reincarnated as a Slime.
Oh, I've heard of that. Never quite seen it, actually.
First season is good.
Oh, the classic problem. Starts
good.
strong.
And then it becomes problematic.
Don't finish it. Got it.
Literally, the third season was like, oh, we lost the plot.
Are you working through any series right now? I'm actually off from a lot of anime, but I'm curious since you mentioned something from a recent season. Recent, right?
The third season was pretty recent. Oh, Detective Common Mask, thank you so much for subbing with Prime. The anime I'm watching right now is Blue Exorcist, because the third season just came out after like a really long time.
How long about? Like
it's been at least 5 years since the last season.
Oh, interesting. Are there any series you're like waiting on to get another season that have been like dead and buried by this point, and you know it's not going to happen, but you're holding out hope?
Probably Hoseki no Kuni or Land of the Lustrous. That one's about rocks.
That's been in the backlog forever and ever. I know folks were really crazy about that.
It's really good.
What's the? Hang on a second. I could probably look this up. What's the kind of gist of it? It's not like a rom-com thing.
So without spoiling too much, basically they're in a future where like nothing is left on Earth. No humans, no animals. The only things that are left are minerals, and some of these minerals have evolved into humanoid bodies, and they fight there's invaders from the moon, and they fight the invaders from the moon, but some of them are too brittle. So like the whole thing goes to like the hardness scale. Like you have foes, which is the least hard, and then you have diamond and borks, which are the top fighters because they have a hardness of like 10. So it's really interesting. It's got a little bit of geology in it, and a lot of really cool action scenes.
I'd probably get weird and pedantic if I watched it. Hardness isn't the same as brittle. What are you talking about?
Good though. Do you have any outfits/colors depending on the seasons?
Oh, I have a couple. Hang on. Can I actually? Where is it? I could do this right here, actually. Hang on. Where is? Can I pull it out here? Item. Let me see. I got a couple. I have only 2 right now. I've talked to my artist, and we might do some others. One is big pumpkin. That's for the Halloween times.
Ooh.
The other is... the other is Holla. We just got out of the Holla phase. Out of the holidays, so to speak. I've never made that connection before. Holy shit. Oh, it looks like he has a little pompadour.
Yeah, he's wearing a little braid.
Don't talk to me or my son. Don't you dare. Can I find a place to put these?
Yeah, you could put them around. Oh, the bread could go on the table if you want.
Fair enough. Hang on,
My bird might eat it, I'm not gonna lie.
It's okay, it's okay. I got more. I've got a few other weird puppets, but these are the proper ones drawn by the artist who drew my rock form. I've got a whole bunch of other weird stuff. Some I could show you, some I don't want to jump. I don't want to... Some of them I feel like it's not safe for work, but it would be terribly rude to have it on somebody's stream. I got a few weird ones. A few, he says. Hang on. This is actually just a derail, don't mind me.
It's okay, we are always getting derailed here.
I feel like the big one is, oh yeah. Just leave Nicolas Cage here off to the side. Wow. Perfect. The tracking is a little stiff on the mouth, kind of like a lip wiggle, you know what I mean? Because it's kind of looks like he's just kind of talking through his teeth like this. But I mean, the fidelity is pretty nice. It's got a little bit of eyebrow tracking.
That is the craziest thing. I think that might be one of the craziest VTuber faces I've seen.
The things you find wallowing around on hashtags on Twitter. Somebody will say, hey, I made a rig of Nicolas Cage's face. A lot of people stare at it, nobody bites, and I'm like, I'll take it.
Somebody
Sure.
had to cut that image and then rig Nicolas Cage.
And they did a great job, too. Let me see. Yeah, I got some more wholesome, unassuming ones. I mean, you ever played Breath of the Wild?
No, I haven't, but I keep meaning to.
Have you played Wind Waker?
No, so I've never played any Zelda, Mario, or Pokemon games.
Gotcha. Just checking, because if you played either of those, you probably recognize what this guy is. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's a tree baby. Hi, friends. There he is. He's gonna stay on top of Nicolas Cage's Widow's Peak.
I'm trying not to make eye contact with Nicolas Cage. I feel like it's rude.
Don't do that. That's how he steals your powers.
Yeah.
I should have warned you about that.
Oh my gosh, he's gonna steal my national treasure.
Gotta kidnap the President of the United States. Actually kind of like him with the core. I'm gonna put the pumpkin away, but this will snag people who are just kind of eyeballing the whole carousel and stuff like that. Like, what the hell?
First time viewers are probably like, what is happening?
Exactly. If you want the Nicolas Cage asset, I can hook you up, you know.
That's
I know
okay.
It's in demand. You're sure? You're
yeah,
sure?
it's a little too uncanny for me.
That's fine. You ever change your mind, you know where to find me. Right?
I do, yeah.
What was the question? Did I skip a question?
Oh, if you had a
previously?
holiday outfit.
Oh! 2. That's it.
That's it, okay.
Next question.
You've already talked about Total Recall, but if you could only watch one movie, which would it be?
It wouldn't be National Treasure. It wouldn't be National Treasure. It's actually funny. Not funny, haha, but funny. You know what I mean? It's funny because I have Nicolas Cage out here. If I had to pick a movie, ooh. Have you ever seen Con Air, Tim?
Con Air. It does not sound familiar to me.
It is, are you aware of, like, late 90s movies like The Rock or Face Off? Things like that.
No.
They're kind of in this category of, like, extremely high-level blockbuster movie that's extremely dumb, but very, very fun. And, like, those 3 movies are in, like, this sort of, wonderful trifecta. And I feel like Con Air is like peak for me. It's just so dumb and wonderful. I love it so much. If you were ever in the need of like a popcorn movie and that just crosses your radar, I cannot recommend it enough. It is really, it's not taking itself too seriously. It's also just got a shitload of celebrities from the time. Like the cast is ridiculous.
I tried to Google Con Air, and the only thing that came up was air conditioning.
It might grab that. It might also grab like a hair dryer. Let me see. Is it Con Air? Yeah, it's Con Air, Con Space Air 1997.
Oh, Space Air. Okay.
I had to check that too, because Con Air singular is the hair dryer.
Yeah, I've definitely never seen this one.
Top marks. That and The Rock. Very good. Face Off, not my thing. Still good dumb, but I just feel like there's a certain, what's the phrase? There's a certain je ne sais quoi to The Rock and Con Air.
Maybe I'll check it out. Well, I'll get it from the library.
Maybe. Don't worry about it too much.
Hi, Geop. Tenshi is very new to the internet. Which classic memes would you recommend she check out?
Classic memes? Are you new to the internet?
Yes.
First of all, welcome! Secondly, I don't know. I mean, Grover was one of those that's kind of a... Grover's one of those things, it's kind of like... That's a good meme, because it's like, there's some memes that are just like... old and boring, and you look at it and you're like, this isn't interesting. You know, like a dumb image meme or something. I don't like what Nicolas Cage is doing as I pitch my head down. He's got kind of like a weird...
Yeah, I had to look away from him.
Okay, I will tuck Nicolas Cage away. I will tuck the bread away. I will leave the Korok.
He could stay.
He's a good fella. Anyway, I'm not sure, because some things, if it's kind of like a good number of memes from the olden times, they kind of have the staying power of like room temperature milk. It's not a good idea. And I'm trying to think of some that are timeless, you know? Because like a number of them are like, you had to be there situations. The thing that's fun about Grover, to bring that back around, is because it was like, I feel it still kind of works, but also it's strange because a lot of the information on that was deleted, so there's almost like a notion of oral history keeping, because there's nowhere that has all the info. I'm trying to think. Trying to think. I'm looking over at chat. Is there something that comes to mind, possibly?
Someone says not the bees.
Not the bees! Oh, that. That's another Nicolas Cage one. There was he was in a movie, a remake. I'm doing air quotes with my hands. If you like, you can do air quotes on your end for emphasis. There was a remake of a movie called The Wicker Man. It was like a movie from the 50s. Nicolas Cage wasn't in the 50s movie. It probably wasn't 50s, it was black and white. Anyway, he had a remake, and it was a garbage tier movie, and there's a lot of strange stuff inside of it. Like at one point, I think it's like there is I've not seen it. I've heard it brought up in a lot. Have you ever seen Midsommar?
No.
I don't even... Okay. I haven't seen it either. I was thinking it's kind of like a cult-like thing. There's like basically a cult of some sort that kidnaps him and I think his wife? But it's like he's trying to get away, and I can't remember all of the things. It's a strange, messy movie. But there's a lot of things out of context that are strange. Like at one point, he's in a bear costume, and he comes across one of the ladies who's his captive, who has taken him captive, and he actually sucker punches her while he's in this entire bear getup. And there's this one time where they're trying to punish him at the end of the movie, I think, and they have him all held down. They're pouring bees onto him. They've coated him in honey. They're pouring bees on him, and as opposed to reacting in a natural sense, he's going, "No, not the bees!" Anyway, it's a favorite.
This sounds very odd.
How to get burned. That too. Oh god, It's kind of a derail, but there's actually YouTube compilations that just grab the best stuff and have it out of context. God, I forgot how to get burned.
This sounds amazing and terrible somehow.
He's like, there's like a sheet of paper. He's talking to a lady at one point, and he's saying, it's like a burned sheet of paper, and he's very angry, and he's saying, how to get burned. She goes, I don't know. And he keeps going, how to get burned, how to get burned, how to get burned. And she's just like, I don't know. But yeah, I guess that's probably a safe bet then, yeah. You're aware of National Treasure. This came out around the same
one
time.
I know.
Mm-hmm. It came out around National Treasure. So it may be worth looking. Maybe. Well, maybe a compilation. Maybe.
I mean, they probably had different ratings at the time they came out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But, songs from Mario Kart Wii. Oh, they're talking about background music. Oh. They're in my eyes. That's one that comes to mind immediately. I can't think of any others off the top of my head. It's not a question I have in my back. It's not an answer I have in my back pocket all the time. I don't actually keep much in that pocket anyway, so.
I think I may have accidentally missed a question. I see you've collabed with a friend of the Mint channel. If you could collab with any other content creator, who would it be?
Any other? I mean, I don't really have somebody in mind that I'm like, someday I'm gonna ask them. Usually it's kind of like I build up some sort of rapport and I ask them. Maybe, I guess maybe if I had to pick one, just because she'd seem interesting to talk with, on the VTuber sphere, I'd really like to poke Giga's mind, possibly. Going beyond VTuber sphere, I mean, I feel like Northern Lion. He'd probably talk me into a corner, but I mean, I just got to see what his whole vibe is on housing and stuff.
Yeah.
Tell me all sorts about it. Tell me about how he stopped at Costco, things like that, you know? Talk my ear off about how great he loves his Peloton. Germa's too zoomer for Geop. I've only seen Germa compilations. Tin, have you ever seen like an actual Germa stream?
No. I have seen a clip.
I saw a number of clips. I don't know if he's not Zoomer. I mean, he's a millennial, guys. He's like 40 now. Or do you mean
Really?
his direct audience?
Maybe his audience.
Oh, I see. Germa isn't real. I like the joke of like somebody saying their favorite VTuber is Germa. It's like it kind of works for him, but it's like if somebody threw out the same joke for Northern Lion, it'd be kind of like, huh? What are you talking about? He's a human.
A little confusing. But I've heard a little bit about Northern Lion. He seems very much like an older guy who's just like, yeah, talk about his like life, and if he had, I don't know if he has a kid, but he seems like he would talk about his kids and how much he likes them.
Oh yeah, he's got a kid. He's very much somebody who has the gift of gab, if I had to say it. Like if you ever talk about somebody who's good at like talking to a stream and just building a conversation and just flowing from there, able to talk forever, he's kind of like the ideal of a streamer who can do that. But that one thing is like the guy is like he lives and breathes like media, so like movies, music. He's got all this weird stuff. There's like an entire website type game that he does from time to time where it's something like you would have, I think it's almost like a degrees of separation game, if you get what my meaning is. Like it would say, here's an actor, make a through line to this actor with as few lines as possible. So it was just like you'd start on this actor, you'd maybe jump to some other movie he was in with a director, and that director worked with this other person. Something like that.
Yeah.
But it's like that's a game where you see him play it, and it is just like, humans shouldn't be this good at this. How many movies have you seen? How do you remember this?
Oh, is it like six degrees of Kevin Bacon or something like that?
Yeah, I was actually going to say that, but I didn't know if you're familiar with Kevin Bacon. But it's pretty much the same thing, yeah.
I know about
It's kind of the
Footloose.
I gotcha. You ever seen Tremors?
No.
Oh, Tremors is good. 1 and 2 are okay. Number 1's fantastic. Let me think. I'm trying to think of some movies that I might suggest. Since we just came from the holidays, have you ever seen Gremlins, 10?
No.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Tremors, Gremlins 1, Gremlins 2. If you still had your pen out and you were writing down those movies, I feel like those should go on the list as well. I mean, honestly, Gremlins 1 is like an extremely Christmassy movie. It's a little bit of a horror movie though, so if that's your speed,
Yeah, I
brace
don't
yourself.
do horror at all.
It's not super peak gory horror like The Thing or anything like that, but it is kind of like they are creepy little evil guys, and there are people who die. But it's not a gross out. It's very good though. The second one is kind of Gremlins 2. I know this is kind of going beyond the veil because you haven't seen Gremlins 1, but it's a funny thing in movies. Whenever there's like a sequel to a game, you know how it'll just kind of like build off of the original, things like that. Gremlins 2 is strange because it entirely turns around and spits in the face of Gremlins 1 proactively.
Oh, I hate when movies do that.
It's doing it on purpose. It's like very much a huge joke and it's laughing at itself. It's really good. It is like an entire polar opposite of like the entire approach, tone, and everything of the first Gremlins movie, and is just like, this is wonderful. It's great. They're murder puppets. Yes, they're murder puppets. Of course they are. I think Henson Studios was involved with the puppetry.
I love the Muppets.
Oh yes, the Gremlins aren't cuddly puppets, by the way.
Yeah,
There is
it's my sister-in-law's favorite movie ever. She has an obsession with it. She owns one of the puppets.
Ooh, really? Which one? Do you know?
I don't know. But even her dog's name was Gizmo growing up.
Oh, yeah, Gizmo was like the de facto cuddly dude from that movie. He doesn't turn to a weird gross boy. Every other thing involved with his kind of critter, they turn to gross boys. Very slimy gross boys. It was always kind of a funny thing inside Gremlins. I'm spoiling things, by the way. Not about the plot.
I don't
I've
think
always
you can
thought about
spoil
this.
the movie. It's like...
Spoilers for Gremlins as well. Cover your ears.
Okay, they're covered.
There's always this thing inside of Gremlins where it's like, don't feed them after midnight. Bad things happen. There's a few rules. I've always thought about, like, is there like a time zone thing involved with that? What if you took one of these critters from the West Coast and you flew them to the East Coast and you shoved a fried chicken down their throats, and that was like, actually no, am I going the wrong way? Hang on, I need to think this back. This is like one of those SAT problems. Hang on. Point being, would it be like a local time thing? Do they have like is there like a circadian rhythm? A bio clock going on? I don't know. This is me thinking out loud. I'm sorry. I don't have I'm not saying for you to answer. Actually, this could be an answer. 10, what are your thoughts on this?
Maybe it's like bees. So there was an experiment that was done where they tried to tell if bees could tell time. So
Like with the digital or analog?
Internally. Like if they had an internal clock. So they every day the bees would go out at 4 o'clock to like, get to select the flowers for honey. So they took the beehive, they flew it to New York to see if the bees would change, and at 4 o'clock France time they came out to get the flowers.
Oh shit. Huh.
So bees can tell time.
Okay. Must be I guess Gremlins might behave the same then. Learn something new every day.
They're interesting little things. Bees, not gremlins. I don't know anything about those.
Just don't feed them after midnight, don't get them wet, and you're good. Also, that may be pretty evil. Gizmo's nice. All the ones that come after him, they're evil. It's strange. I don't know. Anyway. What was the question?
I don't remember.
I can't remember either.
Bees aren't evil. They're good. They're what's keeping the Earth alive. If we lose the bees, there goes the rest of the planet.
Yeah, bees are good fellas. Now mosquitoes, on the other hand.
Oh, mosquitoes.
I know there's a notion of like a biosphere that would collapse if they were gone, but also, I don't like mosquitoes. You like mosquitoes, Ten?
No, I hate them.
I was worried we were about to get political in here. Good, I'm shaking your hand, nodding my head.
Mosquitoes are so evil. I think it's like the worst thing that's ever been invented.
Why did they invent mosquitoes? I don't know.
I don't know. It's like a god was like, you know what? I need to give them some little minor inconvenience that it's just gonna make them itch for like a few days.
Also, will make them pack in some diseases and things like that. It'll be wonderful.
Good thing they can carry out West Nile virus.
Don't forget the malaria, oh boy.
Oh heck yeah. What if mosquitoes are literally bugs in the system?
Bugs in the system. Are we talking like a Matrix question here? You ever see the Matrix, 10?
No.
Okay, forget my question. Don't worry about it. Next question.
Someone would like to know if you like hedgehogs.
Like, the cartoon idyllic hedgehog? Like an actual
Maybe
hedgehog?
like an actual hedgehog.
They're okay, I guess. What are your feelings on hedgehogs?
I think they're cute. I think they're scrungly.
Very important factors. They're just kind of like prickly armadillos, more or less.
Yeah, it's like if a bowling ball had quills.
I don't like the quill part of this equation, though.
I've heard they're not super spiky. It's not like a porcupine where it could spike into you.
Okay. I don't really have a stance on them, honestly. Never thought about having one. You have any pets, Den?
I do. I have a stinky dog named Stella.
Oh, cool. Stinky because of like a winter coat situation, or?
No, she's just... I just call her Stinky.
That's fair. That's fair.
Do you have any pets?
No. My chat's been trying to bully me into getting a pair of cats at some point.
Aww.
I would get a dog, but I don't really... I feel like if I were to get a dog, I really needed like a yard for them to run around in. They get too stir crazy. But cats? That could work.
Yeah, cats are good in small places. Small dogs, though, don't need to be walked as often. Like, Stella's 12 pounds. But I do have a big yard. I live in a very rural, foresty area.
Ooh. Is Stella like a specific breed, or is she
Yeah.
kind of like a nondescript situation?
She's an Australian Silky Terrier.
Oh, hang on. Let me look this up. Australian Silky Terrier. Oh! Oh, one of them! Oh my goodness. I've never seen one of them in person, honestly. Does she have like a long flowing set of long flowing cape or coat, or not quite so much?
She used to. We keep her in the puppy cut right now because winter and snow. It'll cling to her. Oh, 1 second, guys. I accidentally disconnected. Okay, sorry, my Discord just closed itself. I don't know why.
I had a very good joke. It's gone.
Oh no.
I was actually just asking if you ever watch dog shows. I said I don't, because
I
I always see them in
do.
dog shows.
I love the National Dog Show.
Ooh.
I could put up a picture of Stella for access. 1 second. This is my stinky Stella.
Oh. Oh, is she wearing a sweater?
Yeah, she's got some pajamas.
Ooh, that's a good dog.
She's a stinker.
That's a good dog right there.
She is. Right now she's sleeping next to me. If I let my hand dangle, she'll come over and she'll put her face in it so she can get pets.
Ooh, how old is she?
She just turned 7 actually. She is a foster fail, so we got her in November, and then we had her for one night, and that was it. We're adopting her.
Oh, I gotcha. Very nice. Good on you. I think my folks have gotten a few fosters over the years. They tend to opt for like beagles and such.
Oh, I love beagles.
Oh yeah, they're good fellas. They actually have one that is Stella sociable around other dogs?
No, we're working on it.
Really?
Yeah, she does not like other dogs. She has anxiety. And other dogs give her anxiety.
Does she kind of like move away from them, or she get aggressive? Or...
She doesn't get aggressive. She barks, and she acts like she'll like back herself into me. I think to like protect people.
So,
but it's weird because she used to live with other dogs.
Yeah. So the thing that's strange, my parents adopted this foster dog. They've had a few foster beagles over the years, and every single beagle they've had has been great with people, great with other dogs. This dog hates other dogs. Like,
oh no.
My mother walks him every morning, and she tells me that if there's a dog with an eye shot, he just kind of like, I gotta go fuck this guy up. I can't stand him. I hate him. He's just barking nonstop. There's some people he doesn't like. So it's just like sometimes he's just like this little ball of hatred, and other times he's not. I've got pictures of him. You know, I can show you one.
Dogs are so funny like that.
It's funny because he has some tooth alignment issues. Not anything that causes him pain. The vets say it's fine, but he has a distinctive face. Hang on, can I find a picture of him?
Oh, it's usually a small dog thing where their teeth end up messed up.
Ooh. Well, he's kind of like a small-ish beagle, but I wonder. I can definitely find one of these. I gotta go back like a month, I think, for Thanksgiving. Hang on, I am stalling.
Is Chat considered a pet? Someone would like to know.
Not mine. No. Let me see. I will send you one in just a second. Oh, yeah. Okay, I got two. All right, hang on. So, first one. I need to show you two to give you an idea. First one, from above. I feel very handsome fella.
Aw.
Looks good.
He's got a sugar snout.
I think he's always kind of had that. Like, usually they get that when they're older, but he's still like 4 or 5. So
he's young.
Yeah, I was looking at these pictures. I'm like, has he grayed early or something? Should we get him on
Is he a
like...
beagle mix? Because the face, like the snout, isn't right for a beagle, but the ears and the way the eyes are set are.
We kind of hand wave it as a beagle. It's not like we've got proper paperwork. He's probably like a splice of some other stuff. He's actually pretty petite, really, and he also doesn't have an undercoat, so he actually doesn't really get stinky. But it's funny you mentioned the snout because the head-on look.
Yeah, from the head on, he looks exactly like a beagle, but the color is very light too.
Are you familiar with the actor Steve Buscemi?
Yes.
Somebody said he looks like if Steve Buscemi were a dog, and I was like, yeah. But he's got, because of his teeth, like sometimes he has like this weird snarl. So sometimes he'll be sitting there, he'll be nice and cozy and happy, but he has like the angriest snarl on his face. It's just kind of like, hey, fix your mouth, bud.
That's so funny. That's really funny.
Hang on, cleaning up my tabs. There we go. But yes, dog. There we go.
Love dog.
I'm trying to think of a follow-up question.
I have some questions. What's been your proudest... Oh, wait, someone has a question. When you're not streaming or working, what do you like to do?
Oh, God. Well... I'm kind of doing a whole bunch of things. I mean, aside from doing the day job. Lifting takes a lot of time. I actually do... historically, I did a lot of teaching for weightlifting and such. At this point, I've kind of moved away from that, and I'm just doing my own thing. But also, I'm trying to get back more into musical stuff. Like, predominantly across this year, I want to get back to practicing saxophone every single day, and then working on possibly some covers of things. Like, I've been able to do like a few days a week here and there, but I need to make it into like a daily thing, honestly, just to keep the embouchure up to speed. You play any instruments, Tim?
No.
Just curious.
Do you play any instruments?
Several, but I'm rusty. I'm afraid.
What flavor of saxophone?
Oh, well, I've got a tenor, I've got an alto, and I've got a soprano. I'm really focusing on the soprano right now. Not that I'm trying to get the Kenny G sound, but I'm trying to... There's some stuff I want to play, and flipping between those seems interesting to me, you know? You know, I'm closing on some tabs, cleaning up on my side. But yeah, those are kind of the things. I mean, I've got a bunch of weird projects and things I'm chipping away at, but nothing too interesting, really. Job stuff. Don't worry about it.
I will not, and I'm sure chat won't worry about it either. If you could do anything differently, if you had to start over from the beginning, what is something you would change?
From the beginning in a grand scope of things?
Yeah.
Specifically within streaming, or?
Yes.
Trying to think, because I'm kind of just winging this as I go. I really have... I am far from a perfect... Okay, this may come as a shock. I am not a perfect being. And I've kind of like... I kind of appreciate having the little goof-ups and things I've had over time. I haven't done anything where I've been like, man, I wish I knew about this sooner. It's just kind of like piling up things, almost like a stack of Band-Aids. Wait, no, bad analogy. But long story short, I actually don't have a good answer, actually. Let me think.
I mean, I think it's better to not have regrets.
Yeah. It's kind of like if I had to espouse, once again, the grander scope of things. I think the little trips and stumbles and little finding out about dumb mistakes is part of the flavor of things. It's not like I would have been like, oh yeah, day one, gotta do this, gotta min-max this thing. It's like, no, I'm not doing this full time, I'm doing this for fun. It's kind of like you can't really optimize fun, you know?
Yeah.
I think of one thing, I suppose, probably would have been reaching out to some guests for Zillow stuff earlier, because I think I went for like a solid year or so before I started pinging people. And I think if that was the case, I probably should have been a little more proactive. But I was also kind of like feeling around and kind of getting familiar with folks to where they'd be familiar with guesting, you know?
Yeah. I understand that. I feel like networking is one of the hardest things to do as a VTuber.
Yeah, because I know there's a good number. I mean, you know this because you reach out to folks for guesting and stuff. I know some people are kind of bad about doing DMs and stuff. Like some people are bad at replying. Some people feel a lot of anxiety and pressure, I know. And some people are they've got their reasons, but a lot of people are very extremely super guarded about who they associate with guest-wise. And it is what it is, but it's kind of like I came from content creation before streaming and stuff, and it seemed I've talked with there's another streamer that I've known of for a while called Western Style Guy, and we've kind of bounced around in idle chatter once or twice about reaching out for collabs for folks. It was kind of like he ran the same thing where he was trying to, I believe, reach out to some folks, and there were people who were very guarded about it. It just kind of seemed like occasionally, I remember on Twitter or X, the Everything app, whatever you want to call it, there'd be a thread where somebody would be like, I'm curious what your take is on this, Tim. There'd often be these threads where they'd be like somebody who is, I don't know, like somebody who doesn't even stream and has like a few followers on Twitter, and their post goes viral.
And they have a hot take.
Yeah, and they're like, listen, if you expect a collab, here are the rules, bud. And it's kind of like if you're just trying to grab you to have a fun idea, go fuck yourself. Things like that is very aggressive, and it's just kind of like, how do you expect to meet people? And they're like, I only want to stream with pals. And it's like, what about socializing? It's kind of, I don't know. For folks who are not in the sphere, there's some people and takes that go absolutely crazy and pop off, and you're just like, am I the only one who's thinking the way I do on this? And then you often find out a number of times the people, like Ten says, they're just kind of, they don't really stream. They're just some random schmo who, for some reason, a big person retweets them, I guess. I don't know.
They're a V-tweeter.
Yeah, that's the label I remember. But it's just, it is kind of exhausting because some people have such crazy barriers and others have odd expectations. But also you have to, the folks at home have to bear in mind there are people who have had bad encounters. And, you know, if you have one of those where there's like a grifter or something, or somebody
you have to be a little more wary.
Yeah. And it's kind of, it stinks, but it is what it is. Anyway.
Yeah, these things happen, unfortunately, but I agree that like networking is hard too, because a lot of times the party just doesn't reply.
Yeah, that happens, and it's kind of, you sit there, it's like, I felt bad about this. Ten reached out to me a while ago on Twitter, and I noticed her DM, like, because of how many spammers there are, and because she wasn't following me and I wasn't following her, if you have DMs open and there's nothing mutual, it goes into this subcategory or sub-menu.
It goes into the abyss.
Yeah, and it's like, it's there, but also it's in this whole thing that's like, hey, here are umpteen million DMs, and you're like, well, they're all porn bots. That's just what happens. And I went through and cleaned it out, and I noticed 6 months later, I had a message from her, and I was like, I feel terrible. And then she pinged me for this, and I was like, the first thing I said was, first of all, I'm so sorry. And there's the thing where you reach out to somebody for a collab, and it's like, you don't know if you went into spam. It's like, there was somebody I reached out to recently, and they uprooted and moved to Blue Sky. And I was sort of like, did they see the DM? I know we're on good terms. Should I message them again? Should I not? You know? And like, there was another person who had an assistant, an email, and I reached out and said, hey, they know me. I could probably DM them on Twitter. I don't know if it's proper for this thing. So I said, are they okay with this? They came back immediately, like within like an hour or two, and they said, yes, we're good with that. What day and time works for you? I replied to them, never heard back again. And I'm just like,
oh,
when should I reach out again? Like, how do you approach things like that exactly? I know, like, Jay, VTuber Talks, we've kind of talked about this as well, because he'd cast a very wide net, and I was actually not sure if he'd ever reapproach people. What do you do? Because you did actually message me a second time, which I'm grateful for, and I apologize again, by the way.
It's okay. Usually, trust me, I've had people reach out like 6 months later and be like, oh my gosh, I just saw this. And it happens. But usually, like if we're already agreed to something and they stop replying, I wait a week. And then I reply, I'll like send like, hey, are we still on? Do you want to reschedule? Something like that, just so they know like I'm still interested, or they're still interested. I want to do it. I
gotcha. Just curious, actually. Oh, hang on a second.
Because I reach out to a lot of people, just to have them on Ten Talks.
How often do you approach people? I found I'm very choosy. It's like I will like sit there, I will listen to somebody in a stream, and I'll be like, there's like a weird intangible checkbox in my brain that's like, this would be fun to talk to this person. There are times where I have a long drought before I reach out to somebody. It's like gauging the chemistry. What's your approach really? Like, do you have like a logic, or is it kind of like a fuzzy logic thing as well?
I usually watch a little bit of them to see if I like their vibe and if I think we might be able to get along on stream. Because I did have a situation in the past where I did reach out to someone and I hadn't seen anything of them. So I like to be a little bit familiar with the person, at least. Like I saw you and Mince, the Zillow stream, and I was like, oh, Geop seems like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was trying to actually need to grab her again at some point for a collab, but like, Yeah, I've had issues finding people, not because of lack of folks. It's just kind of like fishing around. I find like I'm weirdly choosy at things, and then it gets down to the social norm that I have, which is not really. It's like a weird fake thing, but I'm just sort of like, when's proper to reach out to them, you know?
Hmm.
Because like if you comment in chat and they find out you're another streamer, you know, maybe they react to that in some way, maybe they remember it. It's also the notion of, would it feel like if I pop into somebody's chat and I happen to show like the partner badge or something and I try chatting, I'm like, does this feel skeevy if I suddenly appear in somebody's chat and I just start, you know, being a semi-active before asking them? It's always I have these weird mental guards about it. I don't know.
No, I understand it.
Brainworms.
I lurk in a lot of people's chats, and then I ask them, and they're like, "Oh, how do you know this about me?" Well, I was there. But that method usually works. I do understand some people. I've actually heard some streamers don't like having other streamers in their chat because they think it takes away from like attention on them. But when any of my friends are in the chat, I'm like, hey, do you want to join me?
Let me think. Like I've heard of some folks who are very defensive when they see other streamers in their chat. I've never met one directly, not to gossip monger, but have you ever come across an actual one? I know they're out there. Actually, wait, I do know of one. Never mind, I do know of one. Once again, not naming names or anything, but I was just kind of like, it's one of these things where it's just you hear somebody referenced indirectly and you're just like, is this a real person? Someone just
Yeah,
made this up?
I've heard the debate. I've never actually seen it happen because I think the people that I do watch tend to be pretty chill.
Yeah, I know there's some people that if you bring up another streamer's name unprompted, that's like a social faux pas. It's like, I saw somebody once have like a huge meltdown and they chewed out somebody who was like, I feel like this person was like an 8 or 9 month sub. It wasn't like a first time chatter. Like they casually mentioned somebody, and right after that happened, I was like, well, I'm never watching this person again. You know, it was just so crazy the way that some people react on this stuff, you know? Oh man.
That's crazy. I can't imagine that. I have seen other streamers, they have a rule where it's like, don't bring up other streamers in the chat. But I think that's generally just to keep people from saying like, oh, I'm gonna stop watching you and go watch someone else, which is, it's pretty rude to say that. But to like have a meltdown over people talking about another streamer is crazy.
Like it wasn't even a derail, it was just mentioning their name anecdotally, but no, I don't know. Some people get really weird about this stuff. I don't know.
They do. Some people are like, no, this is my stream. You have to pay attention to me.
Pay attention to me. You can't leave.
Gia mentioned both of them, but there's a funny clip of Northern Lion calling out Giga in his chat because of her badge.
Oh yeah, I feel like I've heard of this at one point where Northern Lion congratulated her when she joined V Shoujo, and I've never heard the clip, but I can hear that in my head because Northern Lion, he has a very distinctive cadence, the way he talks. It's like once you hear it, I'm trying to think, just think of like a cartoon character with a very distinctive voice and speaking pattern. And it's like, he has one of those. It's not like just a random voice. It's like almost like a cartoonish voice you could lean into and be like, I'm doing a Northern Lion voice, boop, boop, ba-doo. Versus like, yeah, it's a very funny thing. And as soon as I heard somebody describe that interaction, I was like, I can hear him saying that in my head. Skyrim NPC. Oh, man.
Opinions on the corpo side of VTubing.
Well, it's kind of, it's a whole different ball game, you know? I mean, it's kind of like, it's funny to bring it up in this context because it's like, I'm just doing this as a side thing. It'll never, ever be full-time. I feel like if I was full-time and I was eyeballing it, like if I was of the mind of, hey, I want to go join a corporate stream, what's in it for me? And I look at it and it's kind of, it's it's too rigid. I also feel that I look at some of the other talents, like they like corral you in with like I'd be corralled in with male presenting ones, and I kind of like sit there and I remember one time I was just curious what's going on because I know some folks who are feral for like Hololive and things like that, and
Yeah.
I think Niji Sanji once upon a time. And it's like I poke my nose into like an edit just to see who are these guys. They're, you know, biggest of the entire, you know, corporate side. I'm just like curious, you know, it's just like, what are these people like? Is there something I could learn if I just watch them? And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, it's kind of just, I feel like I shouldn't say this on stream, I don't think. I just didn't feel it was very engaging. And I was watching the personalities and I was like, they're fine, I guess. There's no real fire. There's a lot of discussion. Doesn't seem to veer off into weird directions the way I'd like them to. It's almost like it's almost like it's toothless to an extent. You know what I mean?
It feels very scripted.
Yeah, because like inside their head, I know there's like a litany of rules and ways they have to present themselves.
You're like, don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But what's your feeling on them exactly?
I have a lot of feelings on them because I actually work in social media and PR.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I see a VTuber company come up, I'm like, oh, here we go again.
Oh yeah, because of how they just implode immediately.
Literally, like I think 99% of them have gone away within like the past year because they debut like a bunch of new generations, can't support any of them, and then close because they're financially in the red. Because they don't understand how to establish themselves as a company, or like how to not. A lot of them they're like going for really high end models and rigging and all that stuff right away. And as soon as I see that, I'm like, this is a death flag.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know there's a number of them I've heard of that like don't really do much to support the streamers. Like sometimes they will, some that have not really covered the model cost at all. Some, most of them usually do cover the model cost, but also it's kind of like they just say, okay, go stream on YouTube, go. And it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
And they don't really grow, and it's kind of like, well, it's not a good ecosystem unless you got, you know, assistants.
It's not, they don't have the support, and then they do hire like one manager to manage like 10 girls, and the manager is overwhelmed, or like
or you find out the manager is like just like stealing money or harassing or just not a good person. You're just like, oh,
the manager is going to watch Face Connect the entire time they're supposed to be managing.
Pretty much.
Let them see Hololive and think we could do that without realizing the established base or the work that's actually required. I think that's it. I think a lot of them are banking on like having another Hololive talent type in their ranks, and they don't focus on helping the people that are there. Instead, they're like, okay, we need to recruit someone else who can bring in bigger numbers.
Yeah. They're just sort of like, we're gonna bag like, I don't know, we're gonna just bag somebody who happens to be like a Marine or maybe a HIPAA or something like that. I don't know many corpos at all. But it's like they'll just say, there's like, we're gonna grab one in like, we're gonna cast a wide net, she's gonna be there. And it's like, well, refinement and stuff doesn't really happen. It's like,
yeah,
I know there's some places, I think it's, I don't know if it's a Hollow or Niji, but one of them or both of them, it feels like they just have a bajillion streamers, like so many.
They both have a lot.
Both of them? Oh boy.
I think Niji has more, but I think Niji also has a higher turnover rate.
Yeah, for obvious reasons. Cough, cough.
I think the only like I wouldn't say any kind of managerial place is great, but I do think VShojo has a good handle on what they're doing because they know how to market themselves, they know how to market the talents, and they know how to support the talents, and that's a really big part of it that none of these companies are doing. Like when you work in PR, you're basically you want people to talk about you, so you give them the tools to talk about you, and I think that's what a lot of these companies are lacking. They're not giving anyone, they're throwing out bait and no one's taking it.
Also, I'm not sure on this. VShojo specifically Western, is it not?
They do have a Japanese branch now, but they've already established themselves within the Western world. And I think also running it like a Western, they're not running it like, you know, a K-pop group. they're running it like a Western talent agency, and that's what these companies need to be doing.
Because I know the HoloLive and Niji Sanji and stuff like that, it's such a rigid corporate Japanese mindset, which is so structured based off of, like, you know, what's the word? Idols and stuff like that. It's just part of why it's so stiff and rigid, you know?
It definitely is. I do see, like, the power that corpos have. I think we've all seen it. And, you know, that's great for them. But it's also, like, there's a dozen corpos now. You need to make yourself stand out. What makes you unique? What does a manager do? Generally, for talent support, they should be doing things like checking in every day. They should be looking at the numbers side of things. Like when I worked in social media management, 99% of my job was spreadsheeting. And like looking at posts, seeing what time is the most successful, seeing what has the most interaction, what are people liking the most. So for them, it would be something very similar. Who's showing up for stream? What game is doing best? How can we better monetize this? Who you know, they should be keeping track of things like super chats too, which I don't think they even realized. Because that's all really important information, because it's demographic information.
Sorry, shotgunning water on the side here. Pardon the long
It's okay.
But yeah,
I'm taking sure we didn't miss a question.
Oh yeah. But short answer, not my thing, personally speaking.
Yeah, I can see some appeal to it, but it's not something I would go for. Especially because you don't get to keep your IP.
Yeah, that's the big thing. It's kind of like, I feel like you mentioned like your lore, backstory, and everything being very personal and attached to you. Even though I'm kind of like just a little rock over here, there is actually a lot more to that. Not to get rambly, and it's kind of like
if I was just a rock.
Yeah, if I was like inside of the context of like a corporate place, and they'd be like, "Oh, you can't take that with you." I'm like, "Wait." It seems like a shitpost character, but there is more to it on a personal level to me. You know, it's a long story. Don't worry about it. But suffice to say, it is that the whole notion of losing something like that is so. It's also the other thing that's really tiring is the notion of like when you graduate or retire on the corporate level, how it's effectively you're taking an entire audience and throwing it out into, you know, you're just kicking it out the door basically. It's always something that's not felt right with me. Like, it's the notion of somebody going indie to corporate specifically. I mean, like, I'm not casting stones. Well, pardon the phrase. I'm not casting stones at people for that, but it's always been something that just kind of soured with me, you know. I don't get angry with them or anything like that, but it's also just kind of like, you know, you have folks who are watching you and enjoying it and stuff like that, and it's like, well, because of the societal norms, I have to close up shop here. I'll be streaming on another platform. Adios. You'll probably never see me again. It's just, and that's the way it is. I understand, but also it's like it's never sat right with me, you know. I feel like I feel like I kind of veered the topic a bit. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I understand it too, because like my IP is very personal to me. And if like even going into a corpo and then graduating, like that's part of you. And they can't, the weird thing is they can't do anything with it. It's like now dead in the water. Why not just let the person graduate with it?
Yeah, and I know there's also the notion of people going corporate, getting an audience, but it's just, as you know, this is just me kind of like talking out loud. Correct me here if I'm wrong, but it's also like you're just dipping into the viewer base that corporation has, you know. Once you're done, there's some who will come over cross-platform, but most of them are just gonna be like, dang, I miss so-and-so, and then somebody will say, oh, that person came back as another life. They're like, no, that person's dead, they're gone.
They really do act like you're dead. It's weird.
Yeah.
Has an agency ever recast a character? I don't quite understand the interest of a corporation owning the IP versus a non-compete clause. A lot of corporations do have non-compete clauses. They don't let you stream while you're in the company with like a different, like if you have your own private model, you have to graduate.
Yeah.
But also, Wactor tried to recast.
I know there's There's the non-compete. You can't stream. I know there's some. There's not to name names. I know some people briefly have done little guerrilla streams. I think it's probably because the corporate's not aware, so to speak, under like their old aliases and stuff like that. I'm kind of curious about how that works. But it's one of those things. It's kind of like I feel it's like as long as the corporation doesn't know and it's infrequent, it's no big deal. But I know it's sort of like I think it's like if you got laid off from Corpo, you can't stream for like 6 months. I don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty and head scratching. Just
Yeah, I think it depends on the corporation.
yeah, definitely.
Non-compete are non-enforceable in international waters. Yeah, there's also a lot of like the laws that they have, you know, in other countries. They don't transfer here.
Yeah, I think part of it also is possibly the people not wanting to lawyer up, and they're just sort of like, well, I'm just gonna have to sit on my hands for however long, you know.
Yeah, I will say that 99% of contracts are just written to scare you, and a lot of the stuff in them, they're not enforceable.
Yeah, especially just because a lot of these super strict ones are just, you know, Japanese bearing, so to speak, so.
Yeah. Big deal between Japanese corpo, the 6-month break. I know there were a few people who left like Japanese corpos and they took a long break, and then but they were saying it is like they were preparing for a re-debut. What's been your proudest accomplishment so far as a VTuber?
Proudest? I kind of like how the Zillow thing's kind of not fallen on its face. I do like how the little bingo thing that's like a hidden object game came together pretty organically. Because for a while I was like, there's no way I can do this weekly. I'm gonna run out of stuff, and it's like now I'm like I have a backlog that's thousands of listings, and I'm just like, all right, guess this is the thing now, huh? I'm just glad the wheels haven't come off the car, so to speak.
Is Geop the Zillow guy? Unfortunately, do you actually enjoy doing the Zillow streams, or is it just like part of your shtick now?
I like doing it. There is a little, there is a part of me that does feel a little bad that whenever I'm doing a Zillow stream, that's when most people break away and they come and watch it. And if I'm doing something slightly different, I have to make peace with the fact that most folks, I mean, it's not like, I still have a lot of folks who show up, but it's just kind of the thing where it's like, certain streamers, if you have like something that's like the big draw, that's just what a lot of people are going to clock in for, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just that is something that I'm very cognizant of, that it does happen, but it's like, well, it is what it is, right?
That's true, yeah. Some people, they only come for like that stream. Where do you see yourself and your content in the near and far-ish future?
How are we defining a long future, folks?
I think they're asking about your 10-year plan.
Oh boy, my 10-year plan. Oh! Well, 10 years, Twitch probably isn't going to be around. I'm thinking. I don't have logic to it, but it's just sort of like, that's a long time for something on the internet to still be around, you know?
I mean, Google's lasted that long, and Facebook's.
Those are drawing a big profit, though. Not to get doomer, you know? Well, I mean, just honestly, I've found the past year or two, I've really gotten more interested in other hobbies and things. The music side, I really like to lean into the music side, because there are a lot of pieces I will hear and I'd be like, I'd like to hear this done with a saxophone, maybe like a tenor, maybe an alto. And I just want to get to the point to where I can get better at playing by ear. I mean, honestly, I just want to get really damn good at saxophone, honestly.
Have you ever heard the guy, I know he has a TikTok, I think he has a YouTube too. The channel is like putting saxophone into songs that don't need it.
I've not actually heard of that, no.
And it ends up being really good.
But don't need, do you mean like it would sound weird, or does he just kind of like shove it in and it sounds great?
No, he shoves it in and it sounds great.
There's a number of really interesting folks on YouTube and such who are saxophone related creators. There's one fella there's like a weird app that he's in where it's like you just randomly FaceTime with people. I don't think it's FaceTime, it's kind of like the same idea. and he'll be sitting there and he'll have like his keyboard in front of him, and he will have his saxophone to the side. They can't see it, and he'll ask them about a song they like. He's never heard it before. He will ask them to play a few moments of it. He'll sit there, he'll listen to it, and then he reaches down to his MIDI controller's keyboard, and he does like the bass line. He puts it on loop. He does a few synths, and then he turns over, picks up the saxophone, and starts playing along perfectly. And just that's just sort of recognition of sound and pitch perfectness is something I would love to develop, but I know that's not something that's feasible. But I mean, like 10 years, maybe. It's a shitload of time, you know. But
yeah, that's a long time from now.
But yeah, just short story or short form. I just want to get really good at music. I haven't really done anything with it. Folks haven't seen it. I did a lot of it in the past, and I kind of want to bring that back around. Is what I'm feeling.
That would be neat. There's a whole genre of musically gifted creators.
I haven't really seen too many on Twitch. I feel there are a few things in the way of it. One being a decent microphone, one being like being in a situation where they can play the saxophone, because it's like, if you're in a tight apartment complex, you probably can't play it that often.
Yeah,
because I was expecting
that's
to see
true.
Tons of people, because it's like guitar, piano, all of those. You would see a lot of folks doing stuff with that, because you can do something about the sound.
I know there's this guy I used to listen to. It wasn't saxophone, but he plays the piano. His name was 88-bit Music. He doesn't really stream anymore, but do you know 88-bit Music?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
He's really cool. He'll like, all you have to do is submit the sheet music, and for like $5 he'll play your request. But you can also just like lurk and earn tokens for him to play it for free.
Ooh, interesting. There's been a lot of interesting video game cover folks that have popped on the scene over the years. There's one that always comes to mind that did like piano covers of some JRPGs, and his name was I believe it was just Zophar or Zohar, I can't remember which, but just this absolutely gorgeous piano cover of several songs from like if folks in the chat know, or like Chrono Trigger or Xenogears, things like that. He just plucks out a few of the nicer tracks from that and has this absolutely fantastically made cover. And he recorded this on like a very poor quality microphone and camcorder, I want to say like 10-ish years ago, maybe a little more. And it's just probably one of the best things I've ever heard. And at some point he deleted his channel and a bunch of people re-uploaded his stuff because it was so good.
That's really neat.
I forgot why I veered to that topic, but whatever. It's not the first time I've done a little bit of a derail.
Obi Katie Cat is a big music VTuber.
Obi.
Yeah, she does like hard rock covers too.
Really?
Yeah.
Taking a peruse momentarily. Oops.
If you could give one piece of advice to people who are new to the content space, what would it be?
Get comfortable with talking to yourself. Also, there's something I've noticed a lot. Let me think. How should I package this statement before I start putting my foot in my mouth? Tenshi, have you ever heard, possibly, I know this sounds weird, have you ever noticed somebody who goes streaming with something and they've not tested anything on the technical side, and a lot of the stream is kind of troubleshooting it?
Yes.
Oh no, did I just accidentally describe a situation you ran into? I'm sorry.
More than what?
I'm sorry. That wasn't what I was aiming for. Well, now I can't make my point. I feel like an asshole.
It's okay. The scuff is part of it.
That's fair. Never has tech issues. Well, they wouldn't lie in chat to me, right? I mean, the big thing I feel is like the big turn away, at least on this level, I feel is audio. Just doing like a test recording, listen back to yourself, like with no background music, nothing. And there's so many things you can pick apart and fix, not getting into like EQ and all that nonsense, but like just testing out like, there are a lot of folks I know of who, their audio's totally fine, but also there is like a constant white noise that's going. And I feel like maybe like a very, very light denoise filter would remove that, because for some people, I'm a bit of a pedantic on that, you know, but it's like white noise is something that sticks out to me. There's like just little audio stuff, and doing test recordings, because some folks I know will just go live and, you know, just kind of wing it from there. But there's a lot of stuff you could smooth out just from just doing some testing and poking and prodding. And I just say if folks were getting into it, do that, because also if you've never done streaming or content creation, I hate saying that because it makes my skin crawl, but whatever, it's the label, right? If you've never done it before, do that, listen back to it, because as they say, you have to listen to your VODs. People say, I don't like hearing my voice. Well, tough shit. You got to do it. It's kind of like eating your vegetables, you know? Although I know some people never really dealt with that, and they grow up and they just live off a diet of like dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets, because the dinosaur shape tastes better. I don't know. Why am I tripping over the word dinosaur? I already forgot what I was talking about. Audio testing. Right! White noise.
Yes.
Get rid of the white noise. And test recordings. That's about it, I think.
Why, stop calling me out in the chat. What has been the funniest unintentional moment that's happened to you on stream?
Well, apparently I am actually launching an attack against you and I didn't realize it. I'm sorry.
That's okay. These things happen.
Something else? Unintentional mistakes on stream? I haven't really, because I test things so much, I haven't had anything other than brief little flubs. Like, oh, there's no audio for this, etc. I've never accidentally doxed myself, thankfully. I really don't think I've had a bad problem, you know? I'm very obsessive about testing things in a vacuum and making sure nothing can go wrong, because I'm trying to think of like in a universe where we didn't have the wonderful VTube studio done by Tenshi. Imagine if we had something else that instead of like tracking your face and showing the parameters and stuff, imagine if instead of that, it actually showed your face, and there would be the nightmare scenario of it somehow capturing your face from like a pop-up window on screen. Like, could you imagine if you had this made by somebody who's kind of detached or tone deaf? You just have that ticking time bomb sitting there, and you're like, okay, OBS likes swapping sources if you close a window. And it's just like the constant thing of you close a window and OBS goes, I'm going to change window capture. And just the weird thing of it jumping over and being like, it's a face cam? It's a window. I'm going to share this.
That's why I don't have a camera source in OBS.
Yeah.
Only spout.
Just spout, just that. Nothing else.
What's your favorite vegetable?
Vegetable? I would say tomato. People would say that's a fruit, actually. So now it's like, well, okay,
It's a fruit, but it's not a fruit you'd put in a fruit salad.
Exactly. Favorite alternative? Spinach. It's very healthy. Also, if you don't like vegetables, you can blend that up and drink it. It tastes like nothing. Second place would be cauliflower, because it is actually like riced cauliflower. You can put into a lot of recipes, and it's like a filler of some sort. Like if you're
it's good.
Yeah, like I know there's like cauliflower oatmeal you can do, and I've got like some recipes that do like protein powder and stuff like that. And after you've got that stuff mixed in there, you don't really notice it because it thickens up so much.
We don't actually know what a vegetable is here.
Don't worry about it. It's the green stuff, not the grass.
It was... So, basically, chat was like, Tenshi, do you eat vegetables? And I was like, yes, I eat cauliflower. That's not a vegetable. I like zucchini. That's not a vegetable. Okay, beans. Those aren't vegetables. What the heck is a vegetable?
Well, if you've got something that can blend it up, the reason I like spinach so much is I kind of have to do that for like my protein shakes and stuff because I'm a bit of a picky baby. As far as vegetables go, what's your hang up on them? Mine's texture, you know? Like
It's the texture and the smell of a lot of them.
the texture is what gets me. People will say, well, maybe you're just not cooking it right. It's like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. There's a weird mouthfeel. And if I get a weird mouthfeel, my brain's like, the hell's that?
Yes.
I got so startled and emoting, I knocked off my headphones.
Oh no.
But yeah, if you have a basic blender, or you just get like a super cheap, actually I don't know if a NutriBullet or something would do that, but like a super cheap blender could easily chew up spinach, and like you can't really taste it, so you could just get your veggies from that, frankly, and just throw in maybe a handful of blueberries or whatever else you want, and you're off to the races. Don't do kale, by the way.
Kale is gross.
Yes, it's also incredibly hard to blend. It's like blending up hemp rope or something like that. You're always gonna have the little grains, you know? It's just like no. Onions are your
Onions
worst
are my
nightmare.
worst nightmare.
Like, do you have night terrors? You don't have to answer that if you don't want to, but I am kind of
I blend the onion. Like when I make soup, I saute the onion and garlic, and then I use the immersion blender.
Ooh.
And it's like they're not even there.
Fight them in my dreams.
Vegetable is a leaf, root, stem. Fruit has the seeds.
Huh? Okay, boss.
Okay.
Just nodding my head and you're like, all right.
Who was your biggest inspiration to start streaming?
Inspiration. Well, I was kind of doing content creation, like Let's Play stuff, a long time ago. I didn't really have an inspiration. It's just kind of like videos on YouTube for playthroughs and stuff like that. It was never my speed. It always felt, because like you'd make something and people be like, oh, hell yeah, I'm glad you're playing this game. And then you realize it's a longer series and that number tapers off and people aren't as jazzed anymore. And I was just like, well, it's what folks know me for. I'll just keep doing this. And, you know, from Twitch coming about and how things change on YouTube, it really de-incentivized a lot of video game content, which is probably why you see like a lot of video game essays and stuff, because that's still that's newer and it grabs folks. But
Yeah.
I found that oddly enough, streaming clicks with me a lot more. I just really couldn't fit it in. I didn't have anybody I looked up to. I had a bunch of friends from the older Let's Play stuff who do streaming, and I was like, hey, I'd like to try it. But for a number of years, I was working a job that really, really made me super exhausted. And I remember I'd go on, I'd stream. It'd feel like hours and hours and hours and hours had gone by. I'd look over, stream's been going for an hour, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm already tapped out. And I actually I had vocal cord surgery back in, like, I want to say,
Oh, did you have nodules?
yeah, that would have been back in like late 2021, I think. But it's like I had that done, and prior to that, my voice was giving out at random. I remember I was at a funeral for my my uncle, and we were meeting relatives I had not seen in forever, and they were people. Do you have some sides of your family that you really, really click with? Just out of curiosity, like.
Yes, the other side of my family belongs to a cult.
I gotcha. So my mother's side, they're fine, but my father's side, we get along with really well. My mother's like a black sheep, so her side's not like her at all. My father's side, I rarely see them, but it's just this chemistry that's always great. They're wonderful, they're fantastic, and I remember I was talking to them at the funeral. It was something we were aware of for a while. We knew he'd pass. He was older, he had health issues. It's just like, well, at least he's, you know, not suffering. And I remember I was talking to my cousin, having a blast, and then my voice just dead, gone, mid-sentence.
Oh no.
My brother's standing next to me. He looks over. He's like, "What's wrong?" I'm just like, just could barely talk. So got that dealt with, and I was just like, okay, I need to do something. I need to, it was like lockdown and that stuff was technically done. Still COVID, but whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I need to do something now that I'm out of the dangerous time to get my voice up to speed with more talking and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, streaming would be the right avenue. So that was kind of the motivation for me to get into it. And I could look back at VODs from when I first started, at 4 hours in, my voice would just be kind of rough. And nowadays, thankfully, I've gone I've gone to 12 hours at the longest and haven't had issues. So it's just like, hey, it's working. Okay. But yeah, no inspiration otherwise, I would say. Not to sound, I don't know. I mostly do this there's the voice thing, but also I just like meeting people. That's kind of it, really.
Yeah.
It's not like,
it's fun.
It's not like, yes, I want to be big like, who's a big male streamer?
The only ones I can think of are Niji Sanji.
Yeah, I want to be big like the Niji Sanji boys. I want to make weird, innocuous, forced tweets that come off as engagement baiting and flirting.
The boyfriend experience.
Yeah, flirting for the Fujoshis. Blessed be. Nothing but respect for them, but still. There are times where
they know what makes them money.
Exactly. I see the posts like that and I'm just like, God almighty. Oh gosh. Yeah. Not to drudge up the old topic, but I see that and I just kind of like, I think I'm good.
What's Geop's workout routine?
Workout routine? Oh God. I've changed so much over the years. I started when I was 12. Spoilers. That was a ways back. That might have been a little ways back. I've actually gotten bored. I found that within the past year or so, I've come to the discovery that I am bored of free weights. So now I'm just entirely doing strongman stuff because that's fun. And I've always been like, I should do an entire routine. Well, I'm just going to do a couple things on the side. Now I'm just like, no. I'm just going to pick up really heavy sandbags and Atlas stones and shit like that. It's great. It's great. It's fun. I'd say do it.
Check these. Thank you so much for rating. Hi, my name is Tenshi Hazuki. I'm an angel streaming live on the internet with the power to restore hope to humanity and heal your heart. And today, I am doing a 10 Talks with my guest, Geop. Thank you so much for rating. Check these. What were you up to? Let me see. You just put them down again? Aren't the weights? Oh, Nick Cage is back. Oh
hey,
no.
Raiders, check this out. It's like jingling keys. He's not making the key jingling sound. We're working on it. Anyway, show's over. He's gone.
Review and then Bellatra. Oh, Bellatra. I've heard a lot about that one.
You might give it. Think you might give it a try?
I don't know. I'm not good with card games.
It's not my speed, to be honest. So I'm just curious. All I know is that if it clicks, it's like you will go feral over it. It's very much like a hot or cold, where hot is like hotter than the heat of the surface of the sun,
Yeah.
Or it's just like, this is too much. This is too much word. Me no like.
Yeah. Too many word, not enough action.
Me need bing bong. Too many mults and numbers and things like that, and if rules.
How do you find yourself staying motivated when you don't want to be?
I don't know. I think just doing something different on the streams, if I may. So, the Zillow thing. I know there's some folks who they stream the same thing, whether it be a game or a type of stream format, and there's no variation. That's totally fine. That's doing what they do. Me, I need something different, and I've found that I need little gimmicks and things from time to time. For the reason why I've got so many weird things is because I like the idea of finding something new and doing a bit of a little fun, little goofy stream and maybe having them be a part of it. And
Yeah.
there was a good number of months where I wasn't really doing that. And even though I had variety streams, I still found that I was just kind of like, ugh, I need something to keep me busy, because just like the entire hashtag thing on Twitter kind of went weird. I didn't know if folks were posting models and things like that. So I was like, well, that well's probably dry. So it's like, what can I do? So very recently I've implemented something that'll give me something to work with. And it's fun because I also get to do really dumb stuff or learn with new things on stream. Like,
Yeah.
I very recently started dipping into Sammy finally, because I had how should I package this? I had a shitpost stream idea, if I may put it in so many words. And I was just like, okay, I need to do stuff in OBS. How do I do this? Sammy? Crap, I've got to learn Sammy. So little things like that. I just need some spice, you know?
Yeah. Need something to shake it up.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a fan of traveling? Do you have a favorite dream destination?
Ooh.
Oh, favorite/dream destination.
I actually traveled a lot a number of years ago. I used to work offshore and I traveled to a lot of places. Never went to New Zealand. I know that's predictable, but it's just like, I'd been to enough places that were okay and fine, but I was always like, I want to go to New Zealand. I want to go to New Zealand. It's never happened. But someday, maybe.
It's expensive to go to.
Mm-hmm.
My parents had a midlife crisis and we almost moved there.
Ooh, interesting. Huh. Go over there and visit all the tourist traps for people who come over for wanting to see the Lord of the Rings places.
I don't think we went to any Lord of the Rings places. I remember distinctly my parents wanted to go see a volcano, and I would not let them because I was way too scared.
Really? Ooh. Was this fairly recently, or were you a little kiddo or something?
No, I was a kid.
Okay. So I was about to say, you're scared.
No,
I was about to say, if you're scared of volcanoes, you've got the right person in the call. We could break this down, solve things. But since you were a kiddo, okay, never mind.
Yeah, no, I'm not afraid of them anymore. I went to Japan and that had a lot of volcanoes.
Ooh, how was the trip to Japan?
It was amazing.
Never been. I feel like, honestly, in spite of all the traveling I've done, the big thing that startles me or weeds me out is coming into places with like language barriers. And I know they say that in Japan they've made it pretty friendly to deal with that, but I still kind of feel weird, like I am culturally intruding if I can't even speak the language, right? Are you okay with Japanese, or?
I speak enough to get me by. Like, I like to order something or to ask for directions. But you really don't need it there.
Yeah, I've heard that. It's just like I've always got this little brain worm that's like, ugh, I need to know. Because I remember one time I flew into Paris. I was going to be, let me see, what rotation was that? Was that? I'm winding back my memory trying to plot where this was. Flew into Charles de Gaulle. I had to go to a hotel because my flight was the next day. I think this is when I was going to Africa. Probably, whatever. It's not
Oh, which part of Africa did you go to?
I was working off the Republic of Congo. I was going to be off of. I was going to eventually end up working off of Somalia for a time, but that was scrapped. But I remember I was in Paris. I had to get a cabbie. I could not communicate to him. Like, this was very impromptu. I was told you're going to fly straight there, and then they said, actually, you're staying the night. Go get a cab. I get in a cab. This guy does not speak English. I don't speak French. He was pissed with me. He was so mad, and I was just like, I'm sorry. And I get to the hotel, and I head up to my room. I think I ordered room service or something. They didn't give me any silverware, but I needed a knife in particular. I go down to the front desk, and I am struggling my best to be like, I need a knife for food. And there's this constant back and forth. I think they thought I needed a pen for the longest time, and I was like, no, I need a knife, please. I cannot eat my food. I mean, I probably could have, but I mean, nobody was watching. But Yeah, that was kind of like an instance where I was like, okay, if I ever travel abroad somewhere where I don't know the language, I need to know something, which I went to a few other places where I didn't know the language, but that was like terrifying to me because that was like just after I got out of college and I was just like a deer in headlights.
That's really funny though, because I've been to France. I went backpacking around Europe when I was in college.
Interesting.
And everyone there spoke English.
I found one cabbie who did not. I also went to the Netherlands, and I remember I was in Amsterdam. I got in a cab. This was like, I think it was the rotation. I think it was like the rotation before I dealt with the France thing. But I remember getting into the cab, and the first thing I say to this guy is, "Do you speak English?" He says, "Yes." Get in the cab, find out those are the only words of English he knew, because he basically wandered around for a long time, could not find where I need him to go, brought me back to the airport, and he basically said the equivalent of, "That'll be $200."
Oh my goodness.
My company paid for it in the end, don't worry, but I was...
Oh, that's good. I would have cried.
I basically had to go to an ATM, do an international thing, and I pretty much just threw the money at him. Just pretty much told him...
I would have been like, what do you mean I owe you $200? You didn't take me anywhere. I feel like he scammed you.
He did. He drove around for a very long time, could not find a port that I was looking for, because I was trying to get to a specific port to get on a boat, and he was just like, port.
Oh, he 100% scammed
he
you.
was just like, what an asshole. Anyway.
There actually are scams like that all over Europe.
Oh,
they
yeah.
say you really shouldn't take taxis there.
Oh yeah, I had no alternative because it was like, that was a really weird rotation because my office, there was a new hire coordinating things, and she gave me nothing in the way of information. So I landed there, and I was like, okay, what's the next step? And I found out there were no other people flying in from the States, so I couldn't follow people who'd been there before. And I was just like, well, the boat's gonna be at a port. And I tried getting a cab ride, came back around, and I went to like an information desk, and I was like, where's the port of Amsterdam? And they're like, well, we have several ports. And I was just like, I see. Oh man.
Oh no.
It was fun. In air quotes. You can do the air quotes with your fingers again if you want for emphasis.
I'm doing them.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I did ask all of my questions, so if chat has any questions they might want to ask, they are 100% free to. Corgi does want to know, what was the planned thing that you had to learn Sammy for the stream?
Oh, so I've got this thing where I effectively just, I've got a list of random words, and I just spin a wheel. I kind of, because of the holidays and stuff. Uh-oh, did my tracking freeze? It might have freeze, but it's okay. You just imagine I'm blinking, folks. But I would just spin this wheel, it'd pluck out 2 words, and I would just try to make an entire theme of the week or a stream or something around that. And one of the things was I pulled the words virus and the word crisis. And I wanted things to I wanted random pop-ups to appear on the screen. I wanted something to creep up from the bottom and do several actions at the same time. So I just wanted to do a bunch of basic things, but I wanted to daisy chain commands together. And that was what I used for that. Oh, my tracking's back. Wow. But yeah, that was the whole thing that I did with that. But it's kind of like the whole random word thing. I'm using that as an excuse to keep things spiced up, but also in cases like this, make me reach around outside my toolbox, so to speak, and get new stuff together. Because I've been in like a staring contest with Sammy for a very long time, and I've been like, well, I don't need it for anything. And now suddenly I was like, huh, how do I do X, Y, or Z? Oh, nobody knows? I guess I can do it in Sammy. There we went.
Savvy is a really interesting tool. I'm not brave enough to use it.
It is very intimidating until you do like 1 or 2 workflows under your belt, and then it's just like, at least for me, all the neurons clicked into place, and it's like, I know how you think now, but there's still some dumb stuff. Like, I was trying to do stuff with numbers in this last project, and it kept spitting numbers back to me, and it didn't say why, and then I found out eventually there was a little tool you could do to pop out and see when numbers it got. I'd have to, twist some knobs, flip some switches, and be like, did this fix it?
Yeah.
I think so. But, learning experience.
How's your French now?
Worse than it was back then, let me tell you. Back then, non-existent. You can connect the dots.
Can you say like yes in French? I feel like everyone knows yes.
Oui. My Spanish, which I used to be pretty proud of, is entirely atrophied and rusted and crumbled.
No.
Crumbled to nothing, I'm sorry to say.
Oh no.
Alas. It's a muscle you gotta use, I'm afraid.
It is. Language is very much a use it or lose it kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I was surprised how much it just crumbled so fast because my father is like perfectly bilingual, and I'd be able to bounce off of him and stuff like that, and I haven't tried in forever. And I remember I read something in Spanish recently, and I sat there and I was like, ooh, I know what this word is. What is it? I have no idea. That's right. It was like somebody was it was like there was on a stream recently where somebody saw there was like a street name that we pointed out that somebody said it was to aid, and I sat there looking at it, and in my brain I ruffled around, and I was like, well, to aid is ayudar, to help, ayuda, help, ask for help, and they were talking about this word for aid or help, and I was like, I don't know if I've ever seen this word before, and somebody else in chat said, oh yeah, they're right, and I'm just like, really? All right. Guess I've forgotten that.
Oh no.
There's so many muscles. Right. I'm focusing on the ones that involve picking up heavy stuff and putting it back down. It's working out okay so far.
Got any games on your phone? Striking Walrus would like to know.
Games? Actually, no. Do you have any games on your phone?
I do. I have Reverse 1999 and Infinity Nikki.
Oh, I just remembered. I do have a game. It's kind of like a Picross thing. They call it nonogram due to legal reasons. How are you enjoying Nikki, by the way? I saw you were playing it. I popped in here a little ways ago and saw you were playing it. So
it is so fun. It's the perfect like girl game. It's got dress up. It's got challenges. It's got puzzles. I've actually seen people say it's a little bit harder than Elder Scrolls.
Oh, Elder Scrolls are easy games. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Have you played any Elder Scrolls games?
No.
Ooh. Well, I will say, as people will crow and holler about it. If anybody says go play Morrowind, I love Morrowind dearly, but it's super intimidating. Just go with whatever's most recent. Just go with that. Feel around.
That sounds right.
The one thing you might miss out on is the fact that there's like a weird island in Morrowind where it's located, and everybody like lives in giant hollowed out mushrooms, and they're giant bugs that they ride around. And then you go to other Elder Scrolls games, and it's like, this is just high fantasy. This isn't interesting.
Yeah.
They're like, this is too weird. We have to make it more palatable. Get rid of all the bugs.
Oh my gosh, it reminds me of like when you're reading a high fantasy book and they're trying to establish the world still, and it's like all the names are the things you can't pronounce.
The weird elven names with the 3 different hypostrophes for somebody's first name.
Yes, and like for some reason there's a lot of L's in there.
Always.
Is it silent? Is it pronounced? I don't know. Any more questions for Geop, guys? Any burning questions? We asked the bagel one already.
If it's burning, you should see the doctor about that, by the way.
Yeah, you definitely should. It's not supposed to burn.
Definitely not. It's Tenshi the game. Oh, they were
Oh
talking
yeah,
about
Nikki.
Oh.
Yeah, Nikki. It is. It's a really, really fun game, and there's a lot to do. Like if you like to battle in it, you can battle things.
I feel like on the fashion front, I looked at that. I'm like, I'm glad people like it. I'm sitting there looking at that, and I'm like, I'm too much of a blunt instrument for this game. I feel like I have no sense on this. Because like, well, glad people are having fun. I don't think it's gonna work for me.
Maybe, I don't know. I've convinced a few people to download it, and now they can't get off of it. What's your go-to trash meal?
Trash meal. Boring answer is that I sometimes will just make more of some of my protein meal stuff, but it's kind of the boring one. Once in a blue moon, if I've just like flown in from somewhere and it's 7 or 8 o'clock at night, I am exhausted, I don't have anything meal prepped, I actually haven't done this in forever, but it was like I would just order like a pizza from somewhere. But that actually comes back to our fast food thing, because I stopped doing that even after travel, because I'm like, I'm sorry, it's how much? No, I don't need a pizza. No, I'm sorry. That was kind of funny, because I'd see those prices increase. You'd be like, wow, huh? And it's only within the last few months that I've heard or realized what's happened to fast food prices. I thought just pizza stuff went up, but people mention like McDonald's, if you don't use an app, it's like highway robbery. With the app, it's less so highway robbery, but I don't know. The fast food thing was very recent of a discovery for me, honestly.
Mm-hmm. What's your go-to Taco Bell order?
I actually don't go to Taco Bell. I've definitely made a few enemies from that one. Never been to a Taco Bell. Never, ever, ever.
Same.
It seems...
I've been to like their bathroom.
Mm-hmm. I'm nodding and shaking your hand. I agree. Not the bathroom part. Never even been inside of one.
I was on a road trip and I really had to go, and Taco Bell was the only thing.
If I must...
Del Taco?
I know of Del Taco. Never been in. Cancel.
You don't go
delete
for
the
different
VOD.
reasons, that's true.
They haven't canceled me for nothing yet. You ain't gonna cancel me for this.
Wait, Chilean, do they have Taco Bell where you're from? I didn't think they had Taco Bell in Chile. Free Shavakadu? That's my favorite.
Free Shavakadu.
It's the Vine. Come to Del Taco. We got the free Shavakadu.
I actually don't know that Vine, actually. I'll have to look it up. I miss...
It's one of the first ones I discovered.
I miss Vine. I miss Vine so much.
I wish I had been around for Vine. I miss the era of Vine, and I watched compilations on YouTube instead.
I appreciate the extremely compact amount of time. People just had to go, bang, I gotta have a punchline, gotta have a bit. And it was so good. Now there's so much more time. It's just like...
Truly. It's why TikTok will never replace Vine, because Vine you had 7 seconds. TikTok you now have up to 10 minutes.
Yeah. So you just listen to like, you could watch edits of like some crazy soccer mom doing food crimes on her countertop or something like that to get people mad.
I've seen too many of those. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. People love it.
They do. It's like she puts spaghetti in the blender.
I haven't seen that one, no.
Oh my gosh. There's a ton of them, and they're painful.
I'm trying to think of some decent ones. There's a lot of interesting content forum things that have tried to find their footing on there in various ways, shapes, and forms. I know there's like a Scrumdiddlyumptious and Chef Club that are lazy food ones.
I think the laziest food ones are the crock pot ones.
Oh, you mean just like general crock pot recipes?
Yeah, anything you have to dump into a pot and cook for 6 hours does not seem safe.
And I always love it when they have these food ones where they never actually taste the food, or they taste it and it's immediately hard cut immediately, like just before you see them, like, you know, revulse from how bad it is. like
My favorite is when they put everything in and not a single bit of salt or pepper or garlic or onion.
yum. The one there's one I saw where they cooked hamburger meat on like I think I've seen this in a couple places. They cooked hamburger meat completely on like a cast iron, and they throw it into a colander and wash it. I don't know why, but they're doing this and just like, I think...
Why are we washing the beef?
I don't know. Some people are like, huh, I've always washed my beef.
I'm scared. Doesn't anyone know you're not supposed to wash meat?
Yeah, it's like,
I don't even eat meat and I know that.
it's kind of like pasta water. You gotta save that stuff, right?
I guess.
Sounds like Kay's Kitchen. Oh my god, Kay's Kitchen!
Oh, I don't think I've watched that one.
Kay's Kitchen is... Gosh. The lady tries her best, which is not very hard, it seems. And she makes these horrendous abominations. And every single video, it ends with her son trying it. My heart goes out to him. He just has this stuff handed to him and is like either horrifically overcooked, undercooked, or it's a texture nightmare. And he's just kind of like, it's good.
No.
Like we're talking about, I'm pretty sure in one of them, he takes a bite of some rice and you could hear it crunch. And it's just like, God, I am so sorry, dude. But also part of me is probably like, well, he probably grew up eating that. He actually probably is fine with it, so.
Yeah, like if that's how his mom cooks.
Exactly. Ignorance is bliss. It all works out.
I have to Google it. I can't go into TikTok because I can't have it ruin my algorithm. Kay's Kitchen. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, like Chef Bolognese, I think, is one of them that she does. I think it's like just dried spaghetti with like a wad of hamburger meat around the center and like some cheese in there somewhere.
Oh, is this her Kay's Cooking?
Kay's Cooking.
Or is
That's
this someone else?
Kay's Cooking sounds like it. The one and only.
Her trifle video is 11 minutes long, but from the thumbnail, why is it wet?
That's how they cook things in Europe.
She put it in like, yeah, have you ever seen like a silicone air fryer liner?
Yes.
She put it in something that looks exactly like that. And then there's a cup of milk next to it that I think she's using to... But she's completely saturated the cake, like it's mush.
It's important to sop the cake. It's very important. Some people just...
That's not how you make
Some people just
trifle.
brush the top with a tiny bit of milk. No.
She waterboarded the cake.
Tell me your secrets, cake.
She's not gonna get it, she killed him.
You ever see any Claire Saffit stuff?
I adore Claire Saffitz. Like my chat has heard me gush about her on more than one occasion.
Ooh, I know she has a book. I've heard the pictures.
Yes, I want
are
it so
super good
badly.
inside of that.
Oh, she's amazing.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen any of her video stuff in a while, but I know that she's pretty much just wonderful for baking stuff in general.
Yes, her and Clara Hall are probably two of my favorite chefs.
What was that second
I
one?
love Clara Hall.
Clara Hall.
She is, I don't know if you've ever watched any of the Food Network competition shows. She's usually the judge for the Halloween Bake Off.
I've got a Carla Hall. Clara Hall.
Oh, it might be Carla. I always mix names up.
I have a Clara W. Hall, but she's been dead for 10 years.
No, it's Carla Hall, not Clara.
Oh, my mistake.
Oops. She is amazing.
Oh, okay. I see. Ooh, interesting. Never seen her, no. Huh. Curious.
She does some really interesting recipes. But yeah, Claire Saffitz is probably on top for me.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever made any of her recipes?
I think I made the basic yellow cake that she had. She had like a series of making some things. I've made that.
Yeah.
There's several that I have pinned as like something to do because a number of them feel like something you have to bake for a larger family. And it's like my whole eating regimen is pretty strict not in a suffering way, but it's like I don't have a reason to make some of those bigger things, like a huge batch of cinnamon rolls from scratch. It's like when I visit my parents, sure, but otherwise it's like I don't need to make this. But there are a lot of them she has that I've looked at and been like, ooh, this would be nice to do when I visit home, but I never make it.
Yeah. I understand that. I have a big family though, so I'm always baking.
I still haven't really made, in spite of all the things I've made from scratch, never have made cinnamon rolls. That's like the constant thing that I was like, someday I will get up at like stupid early and make those things. It's like every time it happens, I'm visiting home and it's like I get out of bed at like 9 or something. I'm like, I'm not making fucking cinnamon rolls, no.
You could do overnight cinnamon rolls.
I haven't looked up a recipe for that. I might give that a look at some point, really.
Hello, Mr. Soffit. That was a bit ago. We're talking about baking now.
And she says you've been making 90s references. Which ones? Which ones?
The bees and the gremlins.
Oh yeah. The bees, not the bees. Training as a strongman, is it mainly lifting or is cardio part of it? Mainly lifting. I mean, cardio in general, there was like this toxic thing online and in other places where they're like, oh yeah, you've got to do this jogging, you got to be in this heart rate zone, you got to do HIIT cardio. No, you can't do HIIT. It's shit. You can't do that. Yes, it's the best thing. You get this epoch effect. Everybody's talking about it. You got to do this. If you don't do this, you're fucking it up. It's like, if you want to get your heart rate up and if you want to get your heart rate up, you could do jogging or whatever. Otherwise, for basic cardio, just do walking. Just do walking. Like, if you can get in 10,000 steps, that's fine. That's great. That's fantastic. It's like, as far as cardio, that's all you really need to worry about. That's just baseline movement, though. Lifting-wise, it's mostly just structuring it to where you don't break yourself down, because, like, you can't do the CrossFitter thing and go balls to the wall crazy every single session, because after a number of weeks, no matter who you are, you're going to be like a sore, crumbly mess. You've got to just like, I prefer the strongman approach as opposed to, there's a lot of stuff on lifting these days. I'm sorry for rambling. This is like one of my things.
It's okay.
I ramble about it on my channel every now and again.
He's rock solid.
Yeah. There's a lot of things online with lifting where people really have started to super overcomplicate, or they split hairs about what's most optimal for X, Y, or Z. That's the word, is optimal. But like a lot of strongman stuff, you just shut off your brain and lift super damn heavy a couple times a week, and otherwise you could do lighter barbell or calisthenic stuff, which is just body weight, and work on keeping your joints and stuff healthy. But otherwise, the numbers aren't too intimidating. Like, I've got a lot of my lifting stuff is with sandbags, and I will just have like the big thing is like the big technique move is a sandbag to shoulder. I'll pick it up off the ground, get it to one shoulder, put it down, put it to the other shoulder, rest for like a minute or two because it's really goddamn heavy, and just try to get to a certain number of reps. And once I clear that a couple times in a row, I add some weight to it, and that's like the primary movement. And it's refreshing because it is so much simpler, I like it a lot because there's so many lifting things. Like I said, it's so complicated. It's like I've seen it creep up, and it's just like too much white noise.
Yeah, I've liked to do cardio. I don't do weightlifting.
Oh yeah. This is me. Just I've been doing this shit so long. I can't imagine anything else personally. That's me though.
My dad is also a huge exercise fiend. He probably works out 3-ish hours a day.
Oh my goodness, that's a lot.
He calls it his hobby. It's like it's my hobby. You can't take this away from me. He goes on a 6-mile run.
Ooh, wow.
And then he comes home and he like lifts. He has his like home gym in the garage. So he lifts weights. He has a little rowing machine. The dog sits in there with him too.
He does the
I don't know what they
running
do.
and the rowing. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he goes hard every day, and he runs with a weighted vest.
Oh wow.
But I think he does it because I bake too much. and he eats the baked goods, and then he's like, no, now I have to work out an extra hour tomorrow.
Oh no, oh no.
Oh no, this cookie derailed my regime. Any more questions for Geop, guys? Anything you want to know?
The iron doesn't insult you. No, it doesn't.
Your dad is an anime protagonist. I think he's aiming to be as strong as Saitama or something. I forgot what the other type of rock is. I only remember igneous. I was gonna ask, like, what's your favorite type of rock?
They're my blessed children, not my ugly children like houses. Igneous, metamorphic, sedimentary. One comes from a volcano, one sits around and just gathers dust and eventually dirt becomes rock. The other is like one of those that's been put in the oven too long, or rather it's been buried for too long.
It's baking for too long.
Pretty much. Just sits down there and begins changing into stuff. Like a weird fucked up Pokemon, but it takes an incredibly long time.
Oh, can you zoom in on the mug again?
The mug?
I don't know if cowboys go to heaven. But all dogs go to heaven. They literally made a movie about that.
Garfield's not a dog, though. He's doomed.
True.
He's doomed. You see, is this the sun or is this the light of the full moon? Oh my gosh.
See, the reason the movie is all dogs go to heaven and not all cats go to heaven is because cats are sinners.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen that movie in so long, but man, it's got. I really appreciate it. I remember there's like a really scary like float that's like a rat or something. It's like the final act of All Dogs Go to Heaven. I'm trying to remember.
I don't remember. I just remember I remember watching it when I was really young and being scared of it.
Oh yeah, there's like a contraption of some sort. It's supposed to be like I think it's supposed to look like a giant rat, but it looks super, super, super creepy. Like they really went out of their way to make that look scary to kids.
They did a good job, I think. Cigar dog? Yeah, there was the dog that smoked the cigar.
I've got so many fuzzy memories from that movie. It's like the main thing I remember is the float, really.
Yeah, I don't remember much of it. I just remembered the name. Anything else, guys? Anything you want to know? A lot of kids' movies of that era were strangely scary. I think they were trying to scare us into submission.
Also, there's just really weird ones that are like, who's this for? There was a Chipmunks one that was predominantly made with, I think it was a lot of animators that were cut from Disney. So there is a incredible amount of production and animation in this very strange Chipmunks movie. I can't remember what the heck it was called. It was one from the 80s. But it's got to be
I would not know.
It's got to be one of the most lovingly animated things I have ever seen. But it's such a
I was going to say Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Oh, yeah. Chipmunk Adventure. Oh. Yeah, if you're not familiar with the Chipmunks, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Unfortunately, I'm not.
They were still kind of, they were getting drudged up and puttered around when I was a kiddo. You know, they're doing, they tried bringing the Chipmunks back for some movies, ill-advised movies. I never saw them, but you didn't miss out from not seeing those.
Okay.
It's a weird
Is Alvin and the Chipmunks just a previous iteration of them? Someone's saying it is Alvin and the Chipmunks, just a weird iteration of them.
Previous iteration of them. The same characters? Yeah, but I'm not sure I follow.
I guess? I'm not sure.
The 2000s direct-to-DVD movies are legit. I've never fished them up, I'm afraid. Love that Wolfman. Huh? Did the Wolfman meet the Chipmunks?
I have no idea what they're saying.
Imagine all the tomfoolery and shenanigans they could have gotten up to. Huh.
Truly.
The Chipmunks weren't interesting at all. They were very much they were just people that were... It's funny, they recorded themselves, like grown adults. They recorded dudes talking very slowly, but if they sped it up, it would be very high pitched, and they could pitch around. So they had like these three little anthropomorphic chipmunk characters, and they had them singing songs. It was actually very just general pop songs, like I think the initial chipmunks were like from the 60s or 70s or something. I don't know. But there's actually a channel there's a SoundCloud where they actually grab some of those songs and slow them down, and it sounds, you can hear the original people singing them, but it sounds spooky. I think one of them was like them singing "Everybody Wants to Rule the World." It sounds very depressing. It's like dripping with atmosphere. It is so strange.
That sounds strange.
That was a slight tangent. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Tangents happen. They're allowed.
Mm-hmm. We get Scooby-Doo meets Courage the Cowardly Dogs who are in the good time. Like, oh, we got that. Did they meet? Huh. Never heard of that.
I don't know. Wouldn't be a Tenshi stream if it wasn't half tangents. This is true. It's all tangents. Any more questions, guys, before we let Geop go? Direct to Max? Like HBO Max? Oh, yes, it was HBO Max.
All right, they're rebranded.
I forgot. It's so silly, all these companies that are like, oh, we need to change ourselves and be more modern. So they get rid of all the character and charm that they had. We need to sterilize.
It's been very funny to see things like a lot of people reacting to the streaming side of things, because there wasn't really a good metric for charting how people were watching things, so it was just typically made up numbers. But now a lot of Netflix is reacting and changing things. There was a post I saw on Blue Sky, I think, where somebody was describing a pitch they were making for something on Netflix, and somebody said, hey, no, it wasn't a pitch. They were describing how things were flowing from episode to episode. And they said, no, you need to have the characters explain everything they're doing. What if the person who's watching it is making spaghetti and they happen to miss half of the plot? You need to make things move slowly and have them declare everything. They very pointedly said, what if somebody's watching it and they're making spaghetti? They're going to miss everything.
What if they're blind? It's interesting how storytelling has evolved. I think I've ranted a bit about it before with my chat, but like everything is spoon-fed now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I appreciate a video game, a piece of media in general, where it just leaves you alone. It's like, figure it out. They'll figure it out. As opposed to a character awkwardly giving like a backstory line, like, yes, you told me about that. Your sister doesn't like it when you do that, or something like that. It's just like, just pick it up from the character interactions. I don't know.
It's very much everything's turned into Disney Channel writing.
What are your thoughts on the making Shenkopf a twink in the remake? Did they twinkify Shenkopf? This is a very, very laser-targeted reference, by the way. Legend of Galactic Heroes viewers, where are you? I know there's several of them. Maybe not here, but there's several of them. They super did. Wow!
Oh no.
There was an anime that was like a space opera from, I believe it was late 80s, early 90s, called Legend of Galactic Heroes. They remade it a few years ago. There was a guy who was like just the absolute Chad character named Walter von Shenkopf. He was like this.
Yeah.
Instead of a space opera setting, he was a dude who had like they had this thing where it was like the equivalent of putting gas into the air that could super ignite from anybody setting off a gun. And whenever that happened and they filled up a ship, they would have to bring out people who had battle axes and stuff like that. So you have this space opera thing, and there's this whole group of dudes who are just really good at fucking things up. They're almost like almost like Green Berets, I guess. And the leader of them
Yeah.
is this Chad called Walter von Schenkopf. But I can't believe they twinkified him. That's so strange.
It sounds very odd, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's the Legend of Galactic Heroes is a hard sell. You know, there are a few VTubers who know what it is. I know Mint's big on it.
Yeah, Mint is also like a wealth of knowledge, but I think she's also like almost twice my age.
I'm around Mint's age, so yeah, slightly dusty. Don't worry about it.
Things make sense. It's okay. Rocks are pretty.
It comes with the
They
territory.
can last a long
comes
time.
with the territory. Just don't throw me in water. I definitely sink, by the way.
I promise I won't.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mint is an old lady. Yeah, she's a bit older. Geological ages? Well, thank you so much for being my guest tonight and joining me. I had a really great time.
Thank you for having me. It was fun. I got to bring out Nicolas Cage. I don't get to do that very often. He had to stretch his brows a little bit, flap them gums.
Oh my god, that the Nick Cage was very interesting.
So, if you happen to need something for a movie, Con Air, The Rock, they're good. They're good. Gremlins doesn't have Nick Cage, but it's good. Just floating that out there. Just saying.
Maybe when my sister-in-law comes to visit, I'll watch it with her.
That's fair. That's fair. If she says, no, we're not watching Con Air, it's a bad movie, then I'm sorry. You can't trust her anymore. I'm sorry. Unbiased opinion. Unbiased opinion.
Slightly biased, but that's alright. We all have our biases.
Except me. Unbiased.
Well, I hope you have a good night and Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year to you, too.
Thank you.
Do I back out of the call? Do I do that now?
Yeah, if you want to. I'll still be here to yap for a bit.
I'm gonna just saunter off this side.
There goes the little... Bye.